Okay, good evening to my colleagues on the council, colleagues on the planning board. I want to call this meeting of the East Greenwich Town Council for May 26th to order. Now I'm going to call on the acting chair of the planning board, David Johnson, to call the planning board to order.
Thank you. Good evening. David Johnson, Vice Chair, acting chair this evening. We have 4 voting members for a quorum. We'll call to order.
Okay, so both bodies are in session now, and so I'll ask our town clerk, Lee Carney, to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Please stand. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lee. Our next item on the agenda is a public hearing, joint meeting with the planning board. The agenda item is a comprehensive plan proposed amendment to eliminate all statements referring to the creation of zoning in the Northwest Quadrant to promote housing development. This is the second reading. I also should mention that Councilor Engelhardt is recused from this agenda item. On March 23rd, the Town Council and Planning Board held a public meeting to review the East Greenwich Comprehensive Community Plan update and receive public comment. Based on that input, along with the Planning Board and Town Council deliberation, the proposed amendment to the plan that removes statements promoting housing development in the town's Northwest Quadrant was drafted. The proposed amendment was passed at first reading by the Council on May 4th, and as per town ordinance, the next step in moving this amendment forward is our public hearing tonight. The specific components of the proposed amendment to the comprehensive plan are as follows. In the comprehensive plan, page 44, under housing goals, we're going to eliminate goal HG1A1 to create zoning in the Northwest Quadrant to promote housing development. On page 89, we will amend the future land use map to remove the mixed use designation in the Northwest Quadrant. On page 97 of the plan, we will amend the future zoning map to remove the new mixed-use designation in the Northwest Quadrant. The underlying existing zone will remain F2. On page 103, we will delete the first bullet point, which refers to changing the zoning designation in the Northwest Quadrant to mixed-use commercial/residential in order to comply with the future land use map. And on page 109 of the comprehensive plan goals, we will delete policy and action P4A1, creating zoning in the Northwest Quadrant to promote housing development. Are there any questions related to the proposed amendments from the council or the planning board to our town staff, solicitor, any other staff? Yes.
Mr. President, there is one more that needs to be deleted. It's on page 124, and it's a housing goal policy in action HG1.
Yes.
P4A4.
Thank you very much. So we'll add that to the proposed amendment. With that correction, are there any other questions from council or the planning board? None. I'm going to ask for public comment related to this item. Is there anyone here in person or on the Zoom platform who would like to make public comment related to the ordinance change?
There's no hands raised.
Seeing that there are no hands, I'm now going to turn over the proceedings to the planning board to make a recommendation to the council on the proposed amendment changes.
Okay, thank you. So we've discussed this at our most previous planning board hearing. So we have to entertain any further discussion. I know it's been discussed quite a bit. So if there's no further discussion, we'll need a motion to a recommendation to the town council to make the 6 changes that were highlighted to page 44, page 89, page 97, page 103, 109, and 104. So if there's someone who can make that, after any other discussion, I'm motion.
Sorry.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Okay,
I was
so all,
about to, in more depth, I recommend that, I move that we recommend to the council adoption of the changes as outlined in the draft decision prepared by the planning staff.
second. Great. All in favor?
Okay, thank you for your recommendation. Our next item on the, in this agenda of discussion is a vote by the town council on adoption of amendment of the comprehensive plan. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing and move the ordinance amendment to third reading at our next regularly scheduled town council meeting on June 8th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. That concludes our business with the planning board for this evening. So I think you can adjourn your members.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Doesn't mean you're not welcome to stay for the night of budget.
Plenty of seats.
Yeah, thanks very much for the work. Appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Yep.
I didn't realize. We're gonna take a minute to just rearrange the tables.
Okay, we are ready to resume our meeting.
Get into there.
I just want to introduce other councilors on the dais with me. We have Vice President Michael Donegan. I'm Mark Schwager. Also, Councilors Renu Engelhardt, Councilor Michael Zarella. Councilor Karen Corenthal is absent for tonight's meeting. So we have adjourned the joint meeting with the Planning Board. The next item on our agenda is public comment. Is there anyone here or on the Zoom platform for comments? These would be on items that are not on our agenda tonight. No hands raised and no one here in public, so we will move on from public comment to the consent calendar and communications. The consent calendar, we have two items. Item 5A, which is minutes from the May 11th, 2026 regular meeting of the Town Council, and item 5B, which is an award to Catalyst Tax for development and implementation of a statistical reevaluation program for the upcoming tax year 2027 in an amount not to exceed $124,000. This item was introduced by Tax Assessor Chelsea Romano. The town is required by state law to complete statistical revals of all rateable properties as of December 31st, 2026. A request for proposals was advertised, and one proposal was received from Catalyst Tax Incorporated. They've conducted the town's revals for the past 17 years. This project will be fully funded through the reevaluation capital reserve fund. So I'd look for a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety, unless one of the councilors would like an item removed for individual discussion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Next item on our agenda is reports and presentations, and we have a report from the town manager on town-wide projects and initiatives.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Schwager, members of the council. Provided the council with a consistent update on various legislative activity for the week of May 18th through the 22nd. I think you'll find a lot of similar legislation that's being heard at this point, kind of across the board. In addition to that, provided a simplistic update in my report regarding budget development process and where we are at this particular point in time. I noted that the fire department received, and the chief is here, will be here this evening, a $9,000 legislative grant that he can comment on later if he so chooses. Did want to note the Memorial Day Parade, which was canceled, but the ceremony that was conducted yesterday at 10 a.m. at the Swift Community Center. I'd like to personally thank Lee for all her efforts in the first shift in schedule in my tenure, and I thought that it went incredibly well. We had a robust crowd that filled the room, and I thought it was the appropriate, intimate setting for really honoring our Grand Marshal, Glenn King, who traveled 97 years old with his spouse, traveled from Tennessee because of the importance of participating in the Memorial Day activities in East Greenwich, where he was born and started school at a young age, frequenting Eldridge and the first class at the high school. So I thought he had provided a significant resume and background, and I think that setting allowed itself to really give it justice in terms of the intimate setting, covering that detail. And then also having the governor there and Seth Magazine, a congressman, a number of members of the council, school committee and others, I thought, as well as Representative Caldwell, I think made it for a good day for those that were present. So I just want to thank everybody for that. In addition, just a few moments ago, Councilor Engelhardt and I were at New England Tech for the governor, who hosted a town hall meeting. So wanted to be there. I had the pleasure of introducing the governor and just saying a few words, introductory words on behalf of the town. But really wanted to make sure that those in the room, and I think we had a strong presence of all state leadership from the various administrative departments of the governor that were there as well, to really showcase the incredible work that's happening at New England Tech. And as the host community, someone needs at times to defend their presence and the work that they're doing. So we did that in a very brief form, the best that we could. And then in addition to that, I wanted to remind the group regarding the importance and the significance of the smaller communities that exist in Rhode Island, where 33 of the 39 cities and towns have a population of less than 40,000, which makes up more than half of our overall population. So that was just to remind everyone that I think the messaging that at times can get lost from our small to mid-sized communities is critically important, because it's really ultimately a majority of the state's residents that are affected in that respect. So I'm going to pause there. There are a number of other items that I could comment on, but happy to answer any questions the council may have on those items, or anything else that you may have on your mind.
Questions for the manager? Seeing no questions, we'll thank Mr. Nada and move on to item 6B. This is an update from the Chief of Police on district investigation regarding incidents on school property. On May 14th, the school superintendent sent an email to the community on the ongoing school district response to the anti-Semitic graffiti discovered at Hannaford and Cole Elementary Schools and in East Greenwich High School, as well as the racist graffiti found at Eldridge Elementary in March of this year. Tonight, we'll hear for an update from Chief Brown on the police department response to these incidents on school property. So, Chief Brown, we're going to welcome you and come to the podium. And Town Manager Nada, if you'd like to also give a few words.
Sure. There is continuing to be high interest in the activities that occurred on school grounds, on multiple school sites. And with the recent release of information, an update is provided by our Superintendent Kenworthy that I thought was well done and covered a lot of interesting points that were of interest to the community members at large. We thought it was time, in speaking to the chief, that the police department also provide a perspective regarding how the process started, what their role was, their interaction with the school department and administration, communication, ongoing communication, understanding that we're dealing with a sensitive environment within our public school system. There are, of course, a lot of information that's not going to be able to be released or commented on at this time. But in talking to the chief and members of the staff, we felt it was important to provide a professional update to complement that is provided by the superintendent, so that the community understands where this process was, what's occurred over the last several weeks, and kind of where we are and what next steps are going forward. So, Chief.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Mr. President, for having me here tonight to go through this. What I'd like to do is, I have 3 sections I'd like to walk us through. The first section, I'm going to go over the reported incidents, when they came in, what they were. Then we'll go through some of our findings at the police department based on the information we did receive about these incidents. And the final section, we're going to go over some conclusions that we've come to. Incident number 1, the first incident was reported on March 18th at Cole and consisted of a pencil-drawn swastika on the rear of a boys' bathroom door. This incident is believed to have occurred on March 17th. Incident number 2. The second incident was also reported on March 18th at Hannaford and consisted of the phrase "Nazis rule" and was located inside the boys' bathroom stall. This incident is believed to have occurred on March 16th. Incident number 3. The third incident, also reported on March 18th at the high school, consisted of 2 separate incidents of the same nature. One was a swastika and the phrase "Hail Hitler," not Heil Hitler, but actually hail, like the frozen stuff that comes out of the sky. It was scraped into the second floor boys' bathroom divider, believed to have occurred on March 13th. The second was a scraping of "Hail Hitler God" onto the same divider, as well as a swastika scraped into a divider on the first floor boys' bathroom. This particular incident was believed to have occurred on March 17th. Incident number 4. The fourth incident was reported on March 19th and consisted of the number 88 alongside of a Star of David spray painted on the rear of a shed that holds equipment for the girls' softball team. It is unknown when this may have occurred. However, the painter did appear to be somewhat faded and older. Now, based on those incidents and the information that we did receive, these are our findings. 3 of the 4 incidents happened within a short period of time relative to each other. All the incidents contain words and symbols often associated with white supremacy and anti-Semitism. The locations are all similar in that they are schools, but different in age, population, and exact location. All 4 incidents taken together or separately would more than likely fall under a misdemeanor malicious damage charge, as the repair value would be low. Depicting these words and symbols sometimes may fall under hate crime sentencing enhancements. Our conclusions based on current information. The incidents at the high school, Cole, and Hannaford are probably not related. The incidents at the high school, not including the outside shed, may be related, as they happened in close proximity of time and included similar words and symbols. There is not enough information or evidence at this time to consider any type of charges. There is also not enough context with the words and symbols to determine if these incidents intentionally targeted a specific individual or group with bias. These incidents remain open and subject to the evaluation of any further pertinent information. That is my report for tonight, and I certainly will take further questions.
Is there any cameras in that area? I mean, kids went to the high school.
I'm going to say no, based on what I know from being here forever, but even if there is cameras in there now, we don't have access to them.
And Chief, 88 stands for Heil Hitler, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, H being the 8th letter in the alphabet.
I would note that we are joined tonight by the school superintendent, Dr. Kenworthy, and also by the vice chair of the school department, Eugene Quinn. If at any time they would like to offer comment, they're certainly welcome. Chief, can you describe going forward, how are you going to continue to monitor this, and what would be the ongoing interactions with the school department?
Sure. So based on these incidents, so it's been like 2 months now. So based on these incidents, we're not really expecting to get a lot more information on these. However, should similar incidents or even old information come forward on these, of course, we're going to work with mostly with the superintendent and, continue to report or fill out new reports and investigate. These graffiti incidents are not uncommon. In my time here in East Greenwich, we've had dozens and dozens of these, even at the school. Now, I'm not saying they were always anti-Semitic or white supremacy type incidents, but we've had drawings of firearms, drawings of explosives, all kinds of other rude stuff in bathrooms and around town on buildings. The London Bridge underpass is a very common area to have a lot of slogans, sometimes at our outdoor playing fields and playgrounds. So it's not uncommon to have these. This is unique in that they all happened in a similar time frame, but the fact that they happen at different schools kind of like takes the wind out of the sails if you wanted to think that these were all related. The high school, there's a better chance that that was related to the same individuals. But long story short, Mark, we are prepared to work with the school department to mitigate these incidents.
Thank you. Mr. Donegan.
So Chief, in terms of what your access is, I know the buildings are in the care and custody and control right of the school department. Is there, in working with them, which I'm assuming that's how you're doing this, do you have access to all the available information on people in and out of the buildings during the relevant time?
Okay. I can answer that probably 2 ways. First of all, we have access to the schools in the fact that we do have school resource officers. These are police officers assigned to the school. So they are our eyes and ears within the school. Now, if we're talking about during the day, people in and out of the school, like, I'm sure we could get access to that list. But as far as lists of students, like who's arriving every day, who's absent, I'm not sure we would have access to that type of list. If that, Mike, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I just don't, not knowing all the information that you have, I'm just left with what the community has, right? And to me, it seems like having this take place in different schools at roughly the same time sort of intuitively seems like it is coordinated. And so if it is it likely students or likely staff or likely third parties entering who are not 10 and 9? And I'm just wondering how you go about looking at that. If that intuition seems the same, if you have the same intuition, I know it's not evidence, but I just didn't know.
I don't have the same intuition on the school because one's an elementary school, one's a middle school, one's a high school. So student-wise, that would throw that off. I'm not sure if a visitor to any of the schools would have access to the actual student bathrooms. My gut feeling would be that they would not just be allowed to roam around the school without someone from the school attending to their needs. Similar to, it's a secure building, kind of like the police station. Like when people come in to do work around the police station, they're escorted. I would assume that they just wouldn't be able to roam, go into bathrooms. And looking at, and we have photos of these symbols, and looking at those photos and how they were designed, they kind of fit the pattern of what I've seen and what guys in the department have seen over the years with other graffiti or symbolic incidents that have happened around town, which were, associated with young adults or juveniles.
So you don't, so based on your experience and what you know that I don't know,
Well,
you're not thinking there is an individual who, let's assume they all sign in and somebody went school to school to school. Do we have a way to know whether that happened or not based upon just sign-ins? Like, do we check?
Yeah, we could check on that.
Yeah,
We could check.
I would assume, yeah.
We could check out.
So
In these incidents,
just it's random if the only access is students.
well, it wouldn't, that's why these conclusions are probablys and maybe.
Of course.
They're not finite because we don't really know, because the information that you don't know, that we know, is very little. So when these incidents happen, you get a little information, especially when you look at the types of investigations that take place. You have an investigation by the police department, which is a criminal investigation. And then the school department or the individual schools, they're going to run more like an internal investigation that's looking to discipline. They don't need to discipline someone, and the school department could probably speak to this better than I can, but we also do it in the police department. We run internal investigations. The bar of proof you need to discipline someone is a lot lower than what the police, so we need a lot of specific information. They don't necessarily need that.
Understood.
So these conclusions remain open. That's why the cases don't close tonight. This is just what we have up to date. I just came in to report, but these are our feelings based on our conclusions, based on the little information that we do have, and also our experience with similar cases over the years.
Mm-hmm. And Chief, so I understand for you to actually speak to someone, especially a child, right? I mean, it's challenging, and you probably need to have, like, what is it, a custodial interrogation? Like, how do you do that, right?
So
they don't need that, right? When they're just disciplining and internally trying to do their own investigation. So it's a different standard, different constitutional.
Only the police have to follow the Constitution. We would have to go through a Miranda. So they would have their adult,
of course,
caregiver, either their parent or whoever,
guardian,
guardian, or whoever oversees them, that would okay the questioning. But at that point, they don't have to say anything. So the thing is, they don't have to say anything to the police. It's just like our internal investigations. If we get stuck rolling over into the criminal aspect on an officer, then we have to give them Miranda rights and they can stop talking to us. So on disciplinary things, we can say, hey, if you let it tell us this, that, or that, we'll do this, that, or that. And, we can get rid of the case that way without having to Mirandarize someone and then, have them not speak to us. That's the difficulty with the criminal investigation. So if the school was able to get some type of information from a student, we would not be privy to that information. And if we ever were privy to that information, we would have to corroborate that with separate, we would have to prove that with separate information. We'd have to corroborate
Right.
whatever we knew. So
Because I would assume,
if it was incriminating, we just can't take that and run.
right. I assume that, and I'd love to hear what Councilman Zarella has to say about this, but I would assume that there's no circumstance under which you could talk to any person, whether they're an employee of the school, an invitee, or a child, and without it being looked at as a custodial interrogation. Is that, okay, so, and then you also can't have a circumstance where you're coordinating with the school so that they're getting information you would not otherwise be entitled to, and then using it for your purposes, because the only thing you do is criminal. Is that right?
Yes.
Mr. Zarella, is that, okay, all right. And, okay, so I guess that's all we know from our police department, which is our direct source of information, and then whatever, if anything, the school wants to share with us. I don't know if they do. I understand it's fraught, but thank you.
It is almost impossible for the school to share anything with us just because of the nature of them being juveniles. Even if they were arrested, we couldn't get their names. They would go to juvenile court.
Oh, I wouldn't be looking, but could they say that they have identified and are speaking with and talking? Can they say that?
As long as it doesn't give away who it is.
Right, right. I guess in the end, that would be what their legal counsel advises them to do, if anything, which may be just to say nothing, but I don't know. Okay, thank you, Michael.
Other questions for the chief? I just want to reassure every resident that the town and school district are taking these episodes with the utmost seriousness and remain in communication going forward to ensure a coordinated response by the town, the school district, and community organizations. I also wanted to thank Superintendent Kenworthy on his oversight and management of the response on the school district side. So if there's no further questions, we will.
I'd just like to say thank you to both the chief and to the superintendent for their work on this.
I think Elizabeth has a question.
I'm sorry, just one second. Mr. Tights, items for discussion, can we grant public comment?
It's not required, but you can.
Yes, if you have a question, please come forward.
If we can answer it.
It's really for the chief, but I'm just wondering if the drawings, the pictures, if they look anything like each other.
No, they don't.
The high school ones, do they?
Some of the words look similar, but the actual drawings of the swastikas are completely different. So it's hard to tell because they happen at two different times. That's why I said, if anything's going to be related, it would be the ones at the high school. However, there are some slight differences.
Okay, it's so weird. The bunching. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Chief. So we're going to close reports and presentations and move on to item 7. This is a public hearing. 7A is applications for outdoor amplified sound permit for 2026 for the following businesses: Greenwich Club, Main Sale Kitchen, and Steve Philippou's Twisted Pizza, also Wild Harvest. This is continued from May 11th, 2026. So I'll ask our clerk for an update on the application status for these applications on amplified sound.
Okay, thank you. Since our last meeting, I have not received any sound testing reports from any of the applicants.
So at this point, we're not able to take any action on the applications. I think we do want to keep this item alive so that if they do come forward with their testing, we don't have to re-advertise and delay approval. So I'm going to ask for a motion to continue the public hearing on this application for outdoor amplified sound of those vendors until our next meeting of June 8th.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. This brings us to item 8, unfinished business. 8A is a presentation from the town manager and discussion by councilors on the proposed operating budget for fiscal year 2027, including departmental overviews. Tonight's discussion is a continuation of our fiscal year 2027 town budget presentations that we had on May 4th and May 11th, and I'll ask Mr. Nada to introduce the discussion for tonight.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Swager, members of the council. Tonight, we're going to be starting off on page 61 of the presentation that was attached to the agenda. So it's, as you know, we roll each of the meetings in sequence. And so tonight, we're going to start off hearing, we're going to take a detour initially, and we've invited Rose Emilio to comment on some programmatic changes and other matters of importance through the manager's office that are dealing with human resources and other related subjects. From that point, we're going to invite Adrienne Gerard, our library director, who will be joining us remotely to provide a brief introduction to the proposed library budget and answer any questions that the council may have. From that stage, we're going to move on to tab 6 of the budget document in our police department. Then moving on to tab 7, which is the Department of Public Works. Tab 8 is the fire department. And then just a brief review of tab 9, which is non-departmental matters. And when we conclude at that particular point and open it up for questions and answers, we do have, as was noted, we have Superintendent Kenworthy here, as well as Vice President Quinn from the school committee. And so should one or more, should they both be here or others that can respond to questions from the council regarding the school department and the school district and their proposed budget, the council can entertain questions on the school department at that time. So when that concludes, really depending upon where we are in the discussion, would be completely up to the council, as if you wanted to then shift to start to talk about the various scenarios that the council tasked the administration with to look at options related to the 6.88% tax levy proposal, and looking at potential reduction options to bring it to 6.5, 6.25, or down to 6%. And we have a slide which has been provided to council, but would be able to be broadcast this evening, which provide a little bit more detail regarding the reduction totals of each of those categories. And moving it from 6.88 to 6.5 is $255,000 reduction. To 6.25% is $425,000 reduction, and moving it to a 6% tax levy is a $590,000 reduction. So we'd be able to comment a little more in that process at that time or at the next meeting, which potentially could be January 1st or January 8th, where we would be at that time able to take further direction from the council and talk a little bit more about our thoughts regarding what it would take and how we would approach any reduction at any of those levels or other levels that the council may wish to pursue. I'm going to pause there. If there are no questions from the council at this point, I'm going to invite Rose Emilio to come to the podium to take the first portion of tonight's budget presentation. Rose?
Hi, good evening. As the town manager stated, our budget was presented at the last meeting, so tonight I'm going to provide a few updates in our department. For those who don't know what some of my responsibilities include, it's basically oversight of personnel, collective bargaining, contract negotiations, grievance administration, budget development, policy research and analysis, and project coordination with departments. The personnel portion of my job, I am focusing on investing in HR operations along with continuing and strengthening the town's policies. Town's current personnel process is entirely paper-based. That includes all new paperwork, all new hires and their paperwork, in any changes employees would like to make to their personal or payroll information. This year's goal is to automate workflows in Munis by setting up personnel actions in employee self-service. In June, we will be working on Personal Actions, which is an electronic workflow program in Munis used to initiate and track changes to an employee's record. Each action is tied to a specific action code, such as a new hire, promotion, leave of absence, or separation, based on workflow permissions that we create, along with a final approval process as it's entered into the system, which will go through HR and payroll. An action is approved, it will create and post directly to an employee's master record and payroll record without requiring any manual data entry. This ensures compliance and a complete audit history for every personnel transaction. With this program, we are only using 1 to 2 screens opposed to 6 to 8 screens. It will save us about 20 to 30 minutes when we're setting up new hires. The Employee Self-Service Portal is another program we are working on. It's a web-based portal that allows employees to view and manage their personal HR and payroll information, such as pay stubs, W-2, change of address, direct deposits. Employees will have the ability to change and update their information at any time without contacting HR or finance. Another program we're rolling out is our benefits portal, which is through American Fidelity. The portal allows employees to go through their section of the portal and certify their benefits for open enrollment. Right now, it's all done paper. I print booklets, and they have to go through a paper process. Now it's going to be all electronic. They can go in their portal. They can see what benefits they have. They can see the cost of the benefits. They can see the employer cost of the benefits. And at the end, it will print them a confirmation benefit sheet. Both of these programs are a small investment, but have a big return. Munis is about $6,600 for the first year because it includes a one-time fee. After that, it will run about $3,400. American Fidelity is zero cost. The trade-off with them is to offer their optional benefits, which their benefits are similar to Aflac. As for the town policies, we have developed and completed 15 of the 42 policies needed for the handbook, and another 6 are currently in process for review. I would also like to mention we will be focusing on employee roles in our Parks and Highway Department and hoping to define roles more during next negotiations. Currently, the positions are defined as operator 1, 2, and 3, which really does not define what the employee can do or does do currently. This will also help with succession planning. With that, we've also started in-house trainings. With the help of the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust and some outside vendors, we are providing our employees with proper training, safety skills, and the ability to obtain certain certifications where they would have room to grow and advance in their career. We recently finished skid steer training at our highway facility. It was very successful. The town also recently hosted chipper and chainsaw training for the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust, where other cities and towns came. And we have sent a couple of employees to attend a bucket truck training. Employees are very interested in learning more, and they want to do more. And with these programs, I feel we can bring more work in-house as well. Outside of the personnel, last year we started a program with the high school life skills students, where a couple of students each week would come to the town, to a few town buildings, and do some work. They were either shredding, cleaning, scanning, or filing. They would spend anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes with their job coach. They loved it. The departments loved having them there. We expanded the program this year with the Trudeau Center. So we have participants that spend 20 to 40 hours a week on the job site with their job coach. They're currently in planning right now. And I
This
feel
part of CTE, is this a CTE program? Or this is just for?
just a program to get them out into the workforce. I feel these programs are important and mutually beneficial for both the town and the individual. We did partner with New England Tech last year, and we had some interns in our IT department and community service department, and I think it went well. That's about it, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'm just curious in the Munis program and the we paying, don't we already work with Munis?
We do,
like-
but certain programs that we don't currently have, modules, will cost us a little bit more.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, man. And I'm all for the working with the students, whether from the high school or New England Tech. I think that's.
Yeah, it's great.
Or Trudeau. I mean, I think that's just great as far as bringing people up, which is always problems.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Rose.
Thank you.
Kim, do we have our library director on the call, Adrienne Gerard? Maybe if she raises her hand, we can, yep, great.
Okay, hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Adrienne, thanks.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you accommodating me as I'm speaking to you virtually. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the library, what we've been doing this year, or in fiscal 25 and 26. The library has replaced a good portion of its HVAC system, as you probably remember me talking about last year. The library had our HVAC system was really limping along. It was old, it was outdated, and our children's room was very, very warm over the last summer. Last summer, beginning in fiscal 26, we replaced HVAC units in our community room upstairs and in our reading room. And this spring, we were able to replace HVAC units in our children's room, and we are now embarking on replacing more units in our Rhode Island room, in our young adult room. That's probably about 80% of the library. And several years ago, our subcommittee of our board of trustees, we have a building committee, and we had gotten a quote from Regan Heating and Air, who is our contractor, and they suspected that the bill would be approximately $750,000. And right now we have replaced approximately 80% of the HVAC system for just over $100,000, including a grant from the Champlin Foundation. Some of the other things, so that's a really huge thing that's been happening with the library for infrastructure, being that the library is an unofficial cooling and warming center. It also ensures that our facility is safe and comfortable for our patrons, our staff. So that's just a really large part of what we've been doing to try to improve the building. And again, most of that has been done with either grant funds or with some of the library's endowment funds. Some of the other things that the library's been working on this year and continues to work on is working with the 350th committee, with the library being a destination for the 350th anniversary of the town. We are working on some pop-up displays, some museum type items. We also work with the schools and the daycares. Have a long-standing relationship with the public schools and the daycares. Our children's librarian visits on a regular basis. We also are continuing to collaborate with Parks and Recreation Community Services on the Learn 365 RI grant, the governor's initiative to extend the school day. So the library has been sort of a I don't want to say a grantee, but has been working with Parks and Recreation in creating and executing programs to that end. So the library has been creating programs that have to do with science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, so STEAM. We're also we're trying to increase staff skills. We've worked with Ocean State Libraries with staff training for cataloging this year. We've been working on more staff meetings and training activities, one of which included a visit to the Varnum House. The entire staff visited the Varnum House just so that we could establish a relationship with the Varnum House, and also so that our staff, if they don't live in town or they don't know about all of our wonderful historical resources, can become familiar with that. And whenever someone comes into the library looking for some information about our historical resources, that they can share that. And we are just gearing up for our busiest season. Our summer reading program will be beginning soon, and we're just really looking forward to it. Does anybody have any questions?
I do have one question. So last year you were cut in your state aid. Do you know if are they doing the same this year? Or do you know what the budget says? Yeah.
So right now, wait a minute, let me just bring up my number here. Right now, it appears as though we are going to get $153,342 from the state. And it's not quite at 25%, but every year we have a statewide push from all of the librarians to encourage the governor to push us up to that 25%. And I really must confess, I've been out on a surgical leave since May 7th, so I haven't been paying as close attention to the chatter on the director's channel, for the statewide director's channel, as I really normally would have been. So, but I can certainly get that information for you, Renu.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm just curious if you had any idea. So
as far as I know right now, it's going to be the 153,342.
And that's just a slight increase, less than $2,000 increase over the present year. It's about 1,900 plus or minus. Yeah.
Yes.
Randy, what is the proposed allocation to
So
the library?
the proposed allocation, so the library had originally recommended the town contribution this year in 26 was $636,907. The request is $672,842, or an increase of 8.8%, or $54,486. That's the request. The recommendation that the administration has made is for a 3% increase, which would amount to $18,551. Leaving,
and if
I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
And I just wanted to mention that quite a bit of that request had to do with the library is in need of an assistant director. We want to add an assistant director to the library staff as the library has become more and more busy, as our programs have increased, as I have been working on getting more grants and working on getting more outside fundings, more benefactor funding. It's sort of left open. We see a need for an assistant director who can assist with items like personnel, who can help with, fielding questions from different patrons, IT, that sort of thing. So, so there's definitely a need there, and that's part of why the request was high this year.
Yeah, so to complement that, I think, and this is a great problem for a community to have, is that when you look at this budget this year, and we're maxed out, right? We're maxed out at the 4% levy. We've exceeded the levy because of debt impact and other impacts. Eventually we are trying to pull back on the reins, right? So we have great services. We have a school department who is wanting to excel, is making up for the shortfalls in state revenues, is trying to advance that needle. You have a library that has great interest, does a terrific job, offers great programs. You have a community services department and a cadre of other municipal departments who provide services, and to provide those services at a higher level, at a better level in terms of responding to public expectations, you need to invest in those. So I guess the challenge, right, for the administration and council is, what do we do in a case like that where we have some overlapping services, right? There's some overlap between municipal library as a separate entity that we fund and school, town department, but that we provide funding to that function independently and make their own independent decisions on. There is little, and that's what the trustees are for, working with the library director as well as the school committee, working with the superintendent. They are tasked with the authority to make decisions in that realm, and they do a great job of supporting and defending their program. And so the challenge is we want to advance all of those, and how do we do that when in a year where we're maxed at the 4% tax levy cap, we're not meeting all those expectations, we're making recommendations to pull back and holding back on the library, school department, and municipal departments. So that is a challenge for the community. I think if we had another $500,000 that we could invest, I bet you that we could defend spending it. So that is the challenge that the administration kind of worked through in bringing us back to a place where we could provide the council with a 4% levy, which I know is still high, and it's aggressive based on the debt that we're looking at this year and the initial proposal of 6.88%. So I know you know that. I'm kind of just articulating it just so that people understand that we are well aware of the quality of programs and the needs that exist in every single municipal department. But it is a challenge financially at times when, as you noted, Renu and Mark, regarding state support for libraries has plateaued. There is a movement underway to reduce that, right? At the state level, they're struggling with funding mechanisms to meet some of the demands the governor is looking to accomplish. And so they're delaying housing aid to the school department, right? Because they don't have enough money. So they're pulling back to be able to try to reallocate funding as much as they can. And there's going to be some sacrifices along the way. We're just not sure where they're all going to be at this point. So
yeah. If I could just, if you don't mind, if I bring in one more point, and I completely understand. I know that that you, Mr. Manager, and the entire town council have been so supportive of the library for so many years, and I understand you are not in an enviable position to have to figure out where these cuts are going to be made. I did want to point out that between last year, between fiscal 26 and then the proposed fiscal 27, even with a 3% increase, the library will still be contributing with our benefactor revenue and our endowment revenue. Will be contributing approximately 19 to 20%, which is a real increase from fiscal 26. It was 15.83%. So, just to show that we are committed to finding ways to raise money, to raise funds, to go after grants, so, and to let you know that we do understand the position that you're in, and we have been working diligently to increase our self-generated revenue, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Can I ask a question, Adrian? How many
Sure.
of the Patreon, the usage that you get? I see you have 6,100 registered borrowers. You had 53,000 approximately library visits. Are the majority, do you know, are they East Greenwich residents? Because I mean, you are being, heavily utilized. I would say that you're obviously your year over year performance. I mean, more books are going out, more people are using music, and especially as the cost of everything has gone up, I think that there's a definite need for a public library. So can you tell me, do you know if the majority of your patrons are East Greenwich, or are they coming from all over?
You know what, I can look into that for you. Right now, without any kind of, just anecdotally, I can tell you that, yes, it does appear that it's mostly EG residents. EG, primarily, we're going to get nearly all of the EG residents plus our surrounding Warwick and some NK residents. But it is primarily, but I can get you actual numbers. I can certainly send you the actual numbers to say what the demographics are on the borrowers. And the reason that because the libraries, everyone uses the same card. It's we're all of the libraries. We have our own patrons from our own communities, but because we have that robust delivery system, we consider all Rhode Islanders our patrons. So, but I can certainly look into that for you for the demographics.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Renew, I think Andy Way would complement exactly what Adrian just noted. He and I were having a conversation recently regarding our senior center and adult programming, and there is a major complement within a radius of our community, north and south, that frequent our programs of all types.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adrian, last year you had mentioned fundraising and grants, and I'm glad you mentioned that tonight. It sounds like you're having some more success with that. I did want to ask you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay. I just wanted to let you know that from July of last year until now, we have raised $27,250 with our annual appeal. So we've really kind of pulled out all the stops on our annual appeal, and we're seeing a lot more people donating. We're seeing people donating more funds, just very, very supportive of the library. And I think that's due to the fact that our library board has a fundraising committee. We also want to thank local resident Ryan Ardito for a video that really helped boost our donations, a promotional video. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. You had a question.
No, I appreciate you elaborating a little bit on your efforts. I just had a quick question. This is not a budget question, but last year we did spend a moment or two on the right to read legislation. Yes. Are you able to update us on how things are going in the library with book banning and right to read legislation?
So I know that Rhode Island was kind of leading the charge with the the right to read, and that was passed. I have not seen any, thank goodness, knock wood, I haven't seen any challenges in our library. I haven't been hearing about a lot of challenges statewide, not as many as last year. There seem to be far more. It's, it doesn't seem to be as much of an in-your-face sort of issue right now. I'm sure it exists, and I'm sure it exists, elsewhere in the country and probably elsewhere. It's they're anecdotal sort of stories that you may hear here and there, but nothing like what we were experiencing on a statewide level, like we were last year.
Thank you for the update, and thank you for your presentation tonight. Unless there's any other questions?
No, I'm set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining us, Adrian. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thanks, you as well.
Great, thank you. Moving on to the police department. Chief.
Tim, can you bring that slide up?
And this is tab 6. It's page 65 of the presentation.
Okay, I'm going to start off at the top of the slide. You can't see it there, but it says 42 members of the staff. That number's remained stable for many, many years now. We haven't added anyone to the department, and we're not asking to add anyone at this current time. The asked total budget for the upcoming fiscal year is $7.6 million. That's a budget change we're asking for of plus 4.7%. On my goals and objectives, on the right side of that slide, the first goal, the safety enforcement goal, this is really our traffic safety program. It's the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration grant program. that Lieutenant Shane Dinnigan manages. I think we've been involved in this for about 20 years. And I remember the first year, many of the first years, we would get like $4,000 a year. And officers like Lieutenant Dinnigan and the ones before him have consistently over the years expanded this program to the point where 2 weeks ago I signed our grant acceptance agreement for the next fiscal year at $135,000. We went beyond what we were given last year, which I think was $100,000. And towards the end of this fiscal year, they allocated us around $35,000. So they're matching that for next year. And again, we'll ask, if we go through that money, we'll ask for an expansion on that. And this covers all the traffic safety. These are details that the federal government grant program pays for. This covers traffic safety issues like speeding, DUIs, driving under the influence, distracted driving, and crosswalks. We are now doing crosswalks. We've had officers trained to go out and monitor the crosswalks and do crosswalk enforcement details. So I put that there on a goal because we want to keep expanding that program. We're currently, on department size, we're currently one of the top departments in the state, money-wise and also enforcement-wise. One of the other goals coming up this next fiscal year, of course, is our reaccreditation. This is a 3-year program. We're ending our 3rd year coming up in, I believe it's February. So we will go for the reaccreditation in the fall, and we'll be reaccredited in the late winter. One of the goals I wanted to bring up, just mention tonight, is the traffic issues. And we have regular traffic issues around town, but I'm sure you've noticed with the bridge work on Frenchtown Road and South County Trail, and other programs that the state has been doing around town. These are creating bottlenecks and certain traffic issues. And, kudos to the guys in my department. We've worked with the DOT and the construction companies to make that as safe as possible. There's only so much you can do when they're replacing bridges, but I think that's worked out well. And I think it's also positioned us well in the future when we're going to be looking at other construction projects, the 95 and Route 4 interchange, and also the construction of Main Street downtown, and our ability to work with DOT to make these as least obtrusive as they can be. As far as some of the numbers, again, we're asking for a total budget of 4.7% change. Down the bottom, you can see some key highlights. And one of the same thing you've heard from the other department heads, health insurance continues to go up at an exponential amount. You can see for us, it's looking to expand at over 17%. Also, life insurance, like many other insurances we're all seeing in our personal lives, and car insurance, property insurance, continues to go up also at an exponential amount. Salaries and wages plus 4.1. See some others here. Benefits, all contractual stuff, 4.1%, benefits 6.5%, and so forth. But that's about it. If you have any questions, I'll certainly answer them for you.
First of all, thank you very much for this. The traffic issues is probably the #1 complaint that I get from my neighbors, and just the congestion. And I understand that the bridges and everything like that. One thing I've been asked about from a lot of my neighbors, at least in my location, so that northwest quadrant, is those light up traffic signs, the ones that say, 35, and then you're going too fast. People have asked for more of those in my location because, particularly people, I was wondering if there's any plan to get more of those, like on Shippeytown, sort of, and Tillinghast and stuff like that.
Yes, we still have some of those. We haven't determined where we're going to put those. We have
in front of my house.
We've gone out several times and looked at different locations. The thing with those, they are solar.
Yeah.
So, and we all know Rhode Island's heavily tree covered, especially East Greenwich. And it can be difficult to put those in the places where residents we would like to have them. So we'd shift, but that is a constant thing that we look at. And of course, we've acquired most of those signs through grants, justice assistance grants. We've used that money the last few years for different things, but I think we'll free up some money, grab some more of those signs, but we'll certainly go back and take a look in that location and see if we can.
And then
put something up.
I do get requests from people, again, in my location, mostly about speeding and like, if there could be more enforcement in that area. And I realize that the department is probably, that most of the calls are not in my location, but as far as speeding and stuff like that, that brings up that other question. Can we raise the amount that we fine people when they get caught speeding? Like,
No. That's set by the state.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. The one
Yes.
thing we could do is
The legislature sets all those fees.
why can't we charge an extra fee, like the inconvenience fee of
what you
We'll
can,
call it the renew fee.
public people?
you could encourage more tickets to be wrote to the town as opposed to RITT, and that would bring in more revenue. Is that right?
Yeah, yes and no. I'm not sure what the breakdown is now. And speeding tickets can go to municipal court, but at a certain, I think it's just a basic amount. Would that be 0 to 10 or 5 over or something like that? After that, they have to go to the traffic tribunal.
So we can give people breaks and send them here, and then we get more money. Just
No, I mean, honestly, I see their logs. They are out and enforce every night. I appreciate that, but
We're doing
think of revenue.
We're doing a lot of enforcement around
Yeah,
town.
you are doing
I know
a
it's hard to see it all the time, but the numbers speak for themselves. We're doing a lot of enforcement. Like I said, look at the grant money.
Yeah.
The more enforcement you do and that grant, and that's all enforcement, that's straight enforcement. Those guys aren't running from call to call and then they're coming in on grant time and doing strictly enforcement.
Yeah.
But they are out there. But I also will say, and again, this is just me visually looking around town. This town is very busy traffic wise.
It is.
And it's not getting less busy. Now, hopefully everyone's saying, oh, it's going to be so great when the 95-4 interchange comes in. I'm sure it will free up a lot of traffic up there, but more than likely it'll just fill back in over time.
I mean, I do agree with you. I think there is a lot. We are getting a lot of, I'll tell you just on Division, there's a lot of cut through traffic from West Warwick and Coventry and West Greenwich. And particularly when the school buses go, I see a lot of traffic being backed up in that and people pass the school buses or they,
Well, especially when you have, like I brought up the bridges earlier. So you have, those are just 2 bridges here. There's as you go up and down 95, there's bridge work, there's all kinds of stuff going on. And a lot of that cut through, because we're right in the middle of the state.
Yeah.
A lot of that cut through is people trying to avoid the traffic that happens because of all this construction.
Yeah. I can tell instantly when there's an accident on 95 because they're right in front of my house. And then I'm out there like,
get out.
Do it. Don't go by my house. Anyways, thank you very much. I was just curious if we could raise more revenue by charging more.
Judge.
Yeah, Mr. Donegan.
Chief, could you tell me a little bit about, so the rise in life insurance is 42%, which seems unusual, and I just didn't know if the population changed, because it's pretty stable, right? With the numbers of those covered is probably pretty stable. So I didn't know what we attribute that to.
I'd have to defer that to Rose Emilio.
Okay. Same thing with the health and so the health, dental, and the insurance pieces, Rose can talk to us about.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, as far as that's the employee life insurance program.
Right.
The health insurance, I think you've seen that and probably already heard that that's pretty much standard. The policies that we have are going up, and that's all contractual.
Yep.
Rose, are you able to pull the microphone down a little bit? There you go.
Hi, Rose.
We did go out to bid for life insurance, and it was approved at the beginning of the year. It's a 3-year lock rate. We're locking in that rate for 3 years. Our previous insurance was going up with our previous life insurance provider. So by locking in the 3-year rate, we're going to see it level out. Plus, our experience was really high And when your experience is high, your rates go up. They do a 5-year average on experience.
And are you referring to the health or life?
Life.
So so with life, it's broken into two, right? Sort of retired and current,
Yes.
and they moved at dramatically different rates. And it's experience, because we have a small department, right? One negative experience can probably influence that a lot. Is that
Yes.
okay?
That's
And when you say that we'll see it level out, what you mean is by eating 42% this year, we don't face the increases.
Our experience has been dropping.
Yep.
So as each year goes by, we drop off a year. And with our rates being the way they are, I just feel in year 4, you're just going to see better rates with us.
Okay. And those are unique to the department, right? Okay. Not the town. Okay. And how about the medical and dental? Are they moving in sync with the town, or are they uniquely related to the?
They had posted many articles last September stating rates are going to go skyrocket this year because of the GLP-1 drug that's driving the market, along with, they did say there was a high cancer rate out there too. So cancer, GLP-1, and specialty drugs too.
Cancer rate in Rhode Island overall, yeah.
Across the US.
Mm-hmm. And those numbers are specific to the police department that we're seeing here, or is that
It's
a
across the
town?
board, all town.
Across the board, right? Okay. Any guess at what's attributable to the GLP?
The weight loss drug?
Yeah. Any guess at what percentage of that?
I do not know.
Okay. And those are all contractual. We have to provide that coverage contractually based upon the union agreements we've signed?
Well, the weight loss drug became.
Yeah, it depends.
I didn't know if that's a murky area or
A
not.
little bit, yeah. And the reason why we're hesitating is because it's an ongoing conversation. So
Okay.
it was a number of years ago that the interlocal trust, the Employee Benefits Committee, the GLP-1 weight loss only, not diabetes based, like an Ozempic, and I'm losing track. There's so many drug names. Ozempic and Mounjaro are covered with health coverage, but
Are they
each
covered
community
only when they are prescribed to treat diabetes?
Correct, yeah.
So, and then the question is, I'm sure everyone would want coverage for just weight loss, right?
Yeah, no, not everybody. That's an interesting point. So in communicating with interlocal trust, anybody who was a municipal or school department or special purpose district member had the option recently to withdraw that benefit. So there's some debate within circles about whether or not it's contractual or not. We would say that we did not negotiate to include it.
Yep.
It was included by the agency at some point and has been covered, but there are very few people who are on it. So those numbers are between monthly 1,000 to 1,300 per month from the numbers that I've been told. But if you buy it directly, it could be as low as 100, 150 up to $200 or $300. So what we're doing now is we communicated with all our bargaining units, and I'm still communicating with just one bargaining unit on this subject. So we've abandoned that benefit for GLP weight loss drug as of July 1. We've abandoned it. We've walked away from it as a town.
Okay.
The difference is, so if I'm happen to be an employee who's on that drug, I have the ability to still use my HSA dollars, half funded by the town employer, half funded by the employee, until that funding source is completely used. Right.
Mhm.
And once that's used, as a town, to get through this contractual period, we will cover the balance for the remaining of the contract, which is about another 1.5 to 2 years. So that would tremendously save the town funding and actually the employee funding. Because if I'm the one buying it and I'm using my HSA dollars and I'm spending $1,000 a month for it, and I have a family plan and I have $4,000, I'm going to use that funding up quickly, 3 or 4 months. If I'm not using any other drug, nobody else in my family is using that money, which you know they are, I'm going to exhaust that quickly. And it's my money. So some employees who are younger, maybe healthier, are trying to stockpile dollars, well, they'll blow through that quickly. So we think there are benefits. And so what that did is our number was about 11% on average for the whole town health medical coverage increase. So we were able to lower that a little below 9 into the high 8s, which is a very good rate based on what you're seeing around the state, which is 10, 15, 20+%. We've heard direct costs through Blue Cross are as high as 25 to 30%. So we've been able to lower that to less than 9%. So what you're looking at in the printed program is not what I'm talking about.
So the
Because I'm still
17%,
negotiating with one group. Yeah.
so we're looking at 17% here, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's
So
not,
some of that is based on experience. So we would expect that to be dramatically lowered on a go forward basis as of
so this is
July 1.
conservative planning and budgeting, but you hope
Because it's an
we're going to live in
ongoing,
hope on that one?
it's an ongoing dialogue. Yeah, I gave up on hope, Mike. You asked me to give up on
Okay,
hope.
no, and I understand it's, everything's a negotiation. And so, so if am I to understand from this that because of the difference in institutional cost versus buying directly for the employee,
Yes.
that there is a universe where with our match and all of that, that they end a 12-month cycle without exhausting all of their,
Depending on what they have in their.
because that's the only.
Whether they,
Depends on the medical.
whether they're
needs.
investing more. Yeah.
Of
if they're
course,
adding
but I'm
funding,
saying
yeah.
there is at least the potential that that is true.
And so the beauty of that is that we're not taking the benefit away, right? So
I
you
understand.
can,
No, I understand.
you can
It's
still
just-
use
it's
it. So
just
that's
how
the
first
dialogue.
dollars are
Yeah.
spent,
That's right.
Who spends the first dollars?
Say that again.
It's just who spends the first dollars and where they spend
They're
it.
going to spend it out of the, as an employee, I'm going to spend it out of the HSA. That's first.
Right.
No matter what, whichever model, it's coming
Yep.
out of the HSA until it's either exhausted or it's not exhausted. So if I exhaust my account, we're willing to backstop the employee
Yep.
because they're going to save and we're going to save, and
Right.
you don't lose the benefit.
I was gonna say, I mean, didn't the school department went through the same thing? I'm just going through their health insurance thing. They had the same issue with, I think, GLP-1s. I think
They
they had
do.
a 10% increase or more
Yeah.
in their health insurance costs for the same reason. I think it was all GLP related, as I
Yeah.
recall the discussion.
Be a good question later for the superintendent, I think.
No, I mean, the GLP-1s have taken health insurance and
Yeah.
costs and all of our society by storm, right? It's a
Yeah.
giant,
It is.
it's a giant need.
Yeah, so
Everything's still under patent.
So I'll give you, so we have about
And-
150 employees. We had active and retirees combined, we had 12. That's it. So when the retirees are out,
Mhm.
so we're really focused on the actives, and we're focused on the actives in one bargaining unit at this point, which is 2 people. That's
Okay.
what we're talking about. So it's not like 50 people or 75 people. And then what we would do, Mike, is in the next round of negotiations, we would clarify all these points and we're hoping that there's a change in the market, prices dramatically reduced.
Or the pills versus the.
We understand there are potential benefits
Yep.
for individuals to
Sure.
help them manage their
Yeah,
health.
I assume if there's weight loss, there are other co-related illnesses that are mitigated, right?
Yes. Yep. You have
I think you will
you have an
see-
expert right next to you.
But you will see prices coming down.
Yes.
Even the brand name drugs are going to come down by about 50% in, I think, in
Excellent.
27 or 28.
That's great.
So you will see some reduction there.
So I think we'll revisit this, but I think you're seeing some inflated numbers today, partially driven by that scenario. So,
And I would like to remark on the diversity of our council where we can have an actual criminal lawyer talk about the criminal issues and a
Yes.
doctor president talk about
so noted.
GLP-1s.
Yes.
Thank you both.
That could-
Are you looking at me?
Chief, I have a couple of questions. It looks like overtime right now, you have that pretty well under control. 0% increase. So you basically your projection for this year hits your target, and for next year, no increase. So are you fully staffed now?
We are within one position of fully staffed, and
Mhm.
we've been pretty stable over the, I don't know, last 4, 5, 6 years. I can't remember how long back when we were experiencing high turnover and high absenteeism. But I think we've gotten a handle on that. And yeah, overtime is one of those things, Mark, that's elusive. Even with full staffing, it can be, an issue if you have people over the year, a significant portion of people using FMLA time or, semi-long-term illnesses or, just vacation time and taking comp time and personal days. I mean, it does add up. So sometimes you have weeks where you're like, wow, a lot of overtime this week, and it's got nothing to do with any fact of the guys just taking their regular time off. So.
I have a couple of bullet points that I think you can just give a few words on. Implementation of the body cameras, is that all complete at this point?
The implementation of body worn cameras?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So that, and as you know, that was also a grant program. And the Police Chiefs Association and the state are looking to expand that program another 5 years. I think we still have some of the original departments that went on are coming up. Their 5-year term is expiring. I think they have 1 year left, but I think we have 3 years left. And we already pre-purchased the new cameras, so they'll be replaced before that time. And that's a significant portion, but that'll already be done. We won't have to do that. But I feel confident that there will be some grant money available through the federal government to expand that program another 5 years.
Yeah, in the future, we'll have to have you come back and tell us your impressions of the program over the last couple of years, but we'll save that. EMA Command Center is it? Yeah, we'll wait. We'll save that. The EMA Command Center, is that all fully operational now?
The dispatch center and the EMA room, which doubles as the roll call room, has been, I think, 99.9%, if not 100% completed, and it looks fantastic and it's performing fantastically.
Yeah, it's really come in handy at some recent events. Dispatch, what's happening with your dispatch infrastructure, your panel and your...
So that also was part of that program, and that's completely built out now. And again, that's just a game changer. The modernization of both rooms is just a game changer moving forward.
Great, great. I mean, that's we want to make sure you have the best equipment for your dispatch. And the firing range, can you tell me about the operation? And I know we had talked about some revenue potential for that.
Yeah, so years ago, we did, well, this is going back to before it was completed. So the indoor range was originally projected to be constructed with the original building. They built about half the range and then cut the money for the rest of it. And Colonel Coyle and myself proceeded over the next few years, and including when he was town manager, to push that program forward. And we finally built that system out. And at the time, we were floating the idea that we could possibly lease the space out to other agencies, but the council at the time shot that down. And to be honest with you, I'm glad they did. I think I thought that was a great idea then because I wanted the range built. I'm not so sure I agree with that. There's a lot of wear and tear on the range, and to redo the berm, the rubber, the berm where the rounds actually end up, it's quite expensive. Under the conditions that we use the range now, it's probably 30 years before that has to be replaced. And also, we require for our range use that we use lead-free frangible ammunition that's non-toxic. And there's a lot of, issues you may have with departments coming in that we would have to monitor. We would have to pay for that, guys, to go down and monitor that they're using the proper ammunition and all the safety rules. So in hindsight, I think that is a good thing that we didn't allow that. But that is always a possibility.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions. Anybody else on the council? Okay, Chief, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Mark, I just wanted to add one thing. And,
Yes.
the chief and I, because it gets lost in these presentations is, we talk often about staffing, right? So I know the council raises questions at times with details, with speeding patrols, with walking patrols, with parking details, traffic, talking about fees and generating additional income, traffic fines, right? Parking fines. We're going through our parking study. We're going through a Main Street rehabilitation. So we talk about those things often, and unfortunately, sometimes they are. And I would say that we talk of them in the context of them being needs. Some people may talk about them in the context of being wants. But I think some of them we could potentially fund, whether or not the chief and I have talked about part-time CSOs in terms of parking patrols, to be able to walk the beat, just be a presence on Main Street, the waterfront, in terms of tickets, especially, late spring through early fall. That's it, right? The program would wrap up after that. But, in years like this, it is also lost. So based on trade-offs with maintaining existing service levels that we have. So it is something we do dialogue on an annual basis, and we're kind of waiting for the right opportunity to be able to step forward. We understand with Main Street being improved in the next 2 years, at the other end of that, we want to be able to, I talked to Fred Gomes about caring for Main Street, maintaining Main Street, cleaning it. And then we talked to the chief about enforcement and managing activity. And those are going to be two things that we're going to want to spend some time on, as this area and other areas in town are just not necessarily always getting the attention that we'd like them to get. But that is not reflected in this budget because there really wasn't room for it. So thanks, Chief. I'd like to move on to Director Gomes and the Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, sure thing.
Evening.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to apologize for my voice. I'm catching a cold, so I sound like a 13-year-old girl. So I'm here tonight to present the budget for you for the Department of Public Works and the wastewater treatment facility. Before we get into the numbers that are up on the PowerPoint presentation, I'm just going to go over a little bit about what the Department of Public Works looks like. Right now, we have 22 full-time employees on the Public Works side. So that includes engineering inspections, the highway department, stormwater management, street lights, tree trimming, building and facility maintenance, and 7 full-time employees on the wastewater treatment plant, up from 6 last year. We actually have a new employee that is starting next week, and that is mandated by Rhode Island DEM. They're making us have X number of employees based on our total infrastructure. The town itself, we're up to 96 miles of roads, which in turn translates into 192 lane miles of roads that we maintain and plow. We have 50 miles of sewer, which includes both gravity and force mains. So obviously everybody knows it was a very challenging year for us, especially on the Public Works side, with the number of storms that we had. It was back-to-back major storms with a foot of snow, and then 38 inches of snow, I believe, was a couple of weeks after. I think I actually had 2 employees that started the week before, and that was their first time snow plowing was during that blizzard. So really proud of those guys and everybody that works for us. They really, really stepped up under, some horrible conditions. I know because I was here for the whole thing. Some of the positive things that we've done this year, and including in preparation for that blizzard, is I don't know if we had an inclination, but we modernized some critical fleet assets ahead of the blizzards. With the support of Manager Nada, we were able to buy a new snow blower for our sidewalks. That piece of equipment ran nonstop for like 2 weeks after that blizzard. So that was great. I appreciate the support on that end. We were also able to complete a state-of-the-art fueling facility at the highway garage, so that we were able to save $50,000 off of that project, which we used the money to buy an overhead canopy for that project by doing all the excavating work in-house. So all of our guys did all the excavating work, all the underground work. That saved about $50,000, a little over $50,000. So our mission going forward for both departments is it's pretty straightforward. Improve the town facilities infrastructure through cost-effective management. Every dollar that we request tonight serves that purpose. So as we get into the numbers a little bit, you will see that on the Public Works side, We are requesting 4.7 million, which is an increase of about 6%, a little over 6%. Most of that is contractual. So same as everybody else, it's salaries, it's benefits, it's insurance. The wages went up a little bit, just a hair over 3%, but that's what the contract calls for. So we were right at that 3% on that. Obviously the benefits, I'm in the same boat as everybody else. You know, it is what it is because, you know, we have contracts we need to maintain. On the services side, excuse me, on the services side, we went up about 6% from last year, about 6% on the trash collection. They increased our yearly budget to $973,000. With that comes an increase in the tipping fee to get rid of it at Rhode Island Resource Recovery. That went up as well. Professional services went up. We're going up to like $25,000, and electricity actually went up like 9%. Even though we converted everything to LED, the electric prices still are a lot higher, especially at the treatment plant. Our place runs nonstop, and everything in there is electric motors. On the commodity side, we kind of held the budget really flat. We had less than 0.5% increase. Our street lighting budget went down to $125,000, and again, that goes because of the LED conversions that we've done. However, the street light maintenance went up quite a bit. We're up to $41,000 for that. Rhode Island Energy is funny. They'll take down a street light for whatever reason that we own, whether they're replacing a pole or somebody hit it, and they'll leave it duct taped to the pole, and then I have to pay to put it back up again.
Thing we could complain about. I mean, isn't that
I've complained to Rhode Island Energy every time I get one of these bills, and I'm like, well, that's the way it is. And
Is the,
I'm sorry?
this is National Grid or whatever.
Rhode Island Energy?
Yeah, Rhode Island Energy, yeah. So we own the lights. We bought the lights some years ago, and then we converted them.
Because of that.
That's right.
Yeah, League of Cities and Towns is fighting that. A number of my colleagues have brought that up at various meetings, statewide meetings that we've been at. Yeah. So
We changed the taxes on the highest property owners in the state because I think
Yeah.
town, I think
oh,
they are
they're at the top. Yeah.
Just raise a little tax on that top person, make up for it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Our drainage maintenance, I increased that a little bit to $15,000 because we do have an aging infrastructure that is in desperate need of repair. So that's our in-house drainage maintenance plan. And our street markings, which every year we mark all the roads in town. Well, not the roads, not all, but the main roads in town. Again, that went up 17%, up to $40,000 for that. So beyond the day-to-day operations, we're focusing on 7 major goals for both departments. So one is to continue our road improvement program. This year, we're looking at possibly 5 miles of total road maintenance, and that includes the reclamation of Cars Pond Road. It includes
That's the one I hear about.
it includes the mill and fill work. It also includes, as you might recall, a couple of years ago, we started doing different treatments as well. So I also have a road in here that we're going to do some more rubber chip seal to. And we started crack sealing last year, and that was very successful. We got a lot of bang for the buck for that. It really prolongs the life of roads by not letting the water get in between the cracks. We need to remove the underground fuel tank at the highway facility. That's on my top to-do list. The highway facility upgrade is coming along nicely. We have a conceptual plan. We're at the stage now that the engineers are going to start to look at costs and what is feasible and what is not. So that's very exciting for myself and for everybody that, works in our department. Obviously, the Main Street rehab plan is huge for everybody. That's going to be a great project. You've heard me talk about the wastewater UV system upgrade. That's in the engineering phase. The I&I project that needs to happen before the Main Street project. That's been engineered. That's actually out to bid. We're getting ready to award the slip lining very soon, probably next council meeting, I'll be before you to award that piece. And then the rest of the wastewater repairs and, PLC upgrades. So let me get a little bit into the wastewater side of things. So I'm sure you're aware that the wastewater enterprise fund operates independently from general taxes. Okay, that's totally supported by the users in town. This year, we're looking for $5.1 million to support that facility for a year. And that's based on usage and fees, sewer fees, and the sewer assessment fees. That's it, but it's mostly based on the users themselves. Again, wages and benefits up about 6% to the contractual obligations and the fact that we are adding an employee that is starting next week. However, there are other town staff that also get some salary support from the wastewater facility, those that are directly involved with the plant. So our deputy director, town engineer, gets 100% funded by the wastewater treatment plant. I get 25% from there. Our finance director gets 20%, deputy tax collector, 35%, and our wastewater DPW clerk gets 50%. So on the services side for the treatment plant, we're looking at an 8% upgrade, which is up to 1.1 million. The biggest expenses on that section is $150,000 for engineering work. That's required for our regulatory upgrades that we can't keep on top of all those DM requirements. Contractual services, $140,000. Lab testing is going up quite a bit. We're looking at 5% increase on that. I went over our goals. And so there's still quite a bit of debt service on the treatment plant. We're at 1.9 million left on that. So those are the major highlights for the wastewater treatment facility and for DPW. So this budget reflects the actual cost of providing services that residents rely on every day. There is really nothing in there that, we don't balance out at the end of the year. Where the department has had the flexibility, we've worked super hard to keep our costs in check. So together, this budget allows us to maintain the 50 miles of sewer mains. We need to get back out and stop maintaining those by flushing them on a regular basis. We're going to repair 5 miles of roads, and we're going to advance quite a few major capital projects. So it's going to be a really busy year for us. So I'm proud of the team at both facilities, of all the men and women that work under this umbrella, often under very difficult conditions and out of the public view. And this budget supports them and the residents that they serve. Very happy to answer any questions you might have for me at this time.
Mr. Donegan.
Just trying to forecast expenses at the sewage treatment plant. I was wondering, thinking specifically for PFAS.
Yep.
Whether or not
we don't talk about PFAS down there yet.
Right. So when was our last RIPD's permit issued?
We have a new one coming up, I believe next year.
Okay, so at that, what we're seeing, right, is when they're issued, the DEM is now, as a permit condition, requiring that you sample all the receiving bodies and all of that, which can be hundreds of thousands, like it can be very expensive. It's currently being challenged by some lawyer as to whether or not they can make you sample when they don't have a limit. They can regulate it.
Right, exactly.
So that's, they really just outsourcing their expense to do research to see what they should do. That's and right. I just, but nonetheless, they're blanketing everybody whose permits are coming up for renewal.
Right now, it's not required, but we know that it's coming down the road.
Okay, and because, yeah, that'll be, and then the nature of the technology we would use to, right now, the surface water action limit is 70 parts per trillion, but that's only while they gather information.
Right.
If it ends up at the same 4 parts per trillion, which by the way isn't, the only reason it's not 0 is because that's the lowest detection limit most labs can get to.
Yeah.
But assuming that the current administration, even if they roll it back, when that flips, you're going to be at 0 at some point. And I'm wondering, are you giving thought to how you would sequence kind of the treatment systems to remove? Are you assuming that since we buy it, they'll do it? You know, what thought are we forecasting?
Well, I mean,
That'll be a
there's-
devastating impact for
Yeah,
everyone.
there's a lot going on, and this is why we have consultants. You know, they're keeping an eye on this and they're advising us on what they see and what they foresee coming down the road. Like I'd mentioned before, right now it's not required. We also have a new facilities plan that has just been approved, even though it hasn't been adopted yet. So we'll have to see what the limitations on that are going to be when it comes forward in about a year or so. So,
right.
I don't know. We're just counting on our accountants to keep on top of this and, I'm sorry, our consultants to keep on top of this and keep us advised and give us a heads up to where we're going to go.
If we are required to address it.
Yep.
You know, green sand or filtration, I don't know. So right, the question is, what I think of when I look at the plant is just the footprint.
It's small and
Just
we
don't have a lot. It's a lot of it's retention time, throughput,
Right.
and we don't have space for that.
We don't have a lot of real estate, and we've had conversations, you know, both with Andy, both with our consultants and our engineers about where we would go.
Yep.
So like you said, we have very limited facility. One of the few places that we can go is where the Parks and Grounds garage is now. So they might have to relocate if we come to that point that we need such a filtration system that is going to take up all that real estate.
Do you have a cost aside, when you discuss this with the consulting firms, do they believe that with enough money, they could actually locate enough to treat with the volume we have?
Nobody's done it yet.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll talk about it when you get your new permit and see what the.
Yeah, we'll see what the.
Right. And
yeah.
You might want to ask the consulting firms, like, when you do this next year and there's a budget discussion, what should you throw in there for that sampling?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be significant.
Yeah, I mean, we'll know by then if
Right.
if we're going to see it in the near future, because you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm looking at regular sampling now going up 7%. If they throw PFAS at us, God only knows what
Right.
it's going to be.
And what they're doing is it's very hard to run those samples. And so what happens is when they require it from everybody and you only have a couple of
That's right.
labs within striking distance who will do it, the prices.
Right, that's the other thing is
Yeah.
who's going to be able to do it?
Right. And timely. Right.
Right.
Okay. I just, it sounds like you're all over it. I just,
Yeah.
when I look at that, when I go over there, I look at it and I'm like, this is a small footprint.
That is, yeah.
And all right. Thank you.
Fred, I have a question under services. You have tipping fees. Can you explain to me, is that solid waste
Yes,
disposal?
So we have the collection services, which is even $975 for the upcoming year. So that's for the private hauler. That's MEGA Corporation that goes around and picks up roadside rubbish, yard waste, recyclables. And then the tipping fee is what Rhode Island Resource Recovery charges us to dump at their site. So we pay by the ton.
Mm-hmm. So you have tipping fees both for DPW and also, it's also listed under wastewater as a
Yes.
tipping fee.
Yeah.
So how are we in our recycle goals for the DPW?
We actually have one of the better towns as far as recycling rates. We get very few loads that are rejected. You know, you read in the papers and not the papers anymore, but the news about the East Providences and the Pawtuckets that are paying hundreds of $1,000s in reject loads. If I were to guess this year, we probably had 3 or 4. And when you tip at Rhode Island Resource Recovery, they have a big room that you bring the trucks into with all the recyclables. And they actually have people in there with cameras that are watching what comes out of the trucks. And they allow you a certain amount of contamination. But if they start to see, you know, car seats, baby seats, rugs, that kind of thing out of the same load, and then they'll just take a picture of it, send it back to you and say, you know, reject it. And then they charge you a regular dump fee, a regular tipping fee.
So the more you recycle, the less is your tipping fee.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
And right now, school, town
School
are
in
included
town.
together.
Yep, and we even encourage some of the businesses on Main Street to
Mhm.
recycle. So yeah, I mean, we do everything we can. We push a lot of literature out. We push a lot of information out, and we encourage, we're pretty heavy on encouraging recycling.
Now, the tipping fee under wastewater, what is that?
So that's sludge.
Okay.
So every once in a while, we have to pump out the pump stations and the wells at the treatment facility. So when you get that, you have grit and sludge at the bottom, and we take that to the landfill as well.
But this isn't the sludge that goes up to Woonsocket to
It's
get
not, no, that's liquid
incinerated.
sludge. They burn that. This is like literally grit, sand. It's just.
And that goes to the dump.
Woonsocket, right?
What's
Or
that?
We send ours to Cranston.
No, we
correct?
send us to Cranston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We used to go to Woonsocket. They started to have a lot of problems a couple of years ago, so we made the switch to Cranston.
This goes to the landfill.
This goes to the
Okay.
landfill, yeah.
As far as the tipping fee for the solids, the waste solids.
Yep.
Any thoughts on what's happening in Woonsocket? Is that on par to close down?
From what I heard, I know they keep getting bought out by private companies. It was always a private company that ran it, but they were having some problems. So
I can speak to that.
What's that?
That I can speak to that.
Oh, okay.
So Netco was the original company that was that permitted it. Woonsocket owns it. What they lease it to Synagro, which is owned by Goldman Sachs. And the city can't, this is all very public. They can't afford the upgrades to keep, they take in sludge cakes and sludge that they dewater on site.
Right.
And that's not going to happen anymore.
Right.
And so they're getting out of that business, and they may close it entirely. They may keep it and just take the dry cake, which limits a lot of facilities because they don't have the ability to dewater, which we don't, right?
Not.
So an open-ended question is, even if we have, they signed some contracts that were 40 years long. I don't know how long ours is, but.
So when we were with Synagro, we had a 20-year contract, and we were at the 17th or 18th year of that contract.
Yep.
So the sales manager actually approached me and said, you know, you better start looking at possibly bidding this out because we're not going to renew it in 2 years from now.
Yep.
So knowing that we got the jump, we have like a 2-year notice.
Yep.
So I got out of that contract 2 years early. They let me out because they knew they were going to shut me out anyway. And we were able to jump into Cranston.
In Cranston.
Which now is like turning people away.
Maxed, yeah,
they're
totally maxed. And how long is that?
They would only do a 5 with us.
And where are we in the 5-year window? 2 years?
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, and right now there's a whole thing about whether or not there'll be thermal desorption in Quonset, which was the med recycler facility technology that they're trying to put down there. There's only one of those ever operational. It's kind of iffy. So we'll see. Are you exploring in the 3 years? It's very challenging, right? Because the big expense is just transportation. Yeah, trucking. It costs you more than, and there's not much in striking distance, and they're kind of all Synagro facilities, aren't they?
That's not, no, it's,
like New Haven has one, don't they?
Yeah, it's not Synagro. It's, I can't think of it right now.
But anyway, everybody,
we actually saved a little bit of money by going to Cranston because, like you said,
sure,
short of distance.
Okay, yeah, I would just, I'm sure you're all over this, but I would look at it like your 3-year window may expire too.
Yeah, we're not going to wait. We're not going to
wait
wait till last year.
Yeah. All right.
But it is a local solution. In other words, you can't ship this to Montana. It's got to be.
Believe it or not, that's what some towns have to do. They actually put these things on trains and ship them out west.
Does that become cost prohibitive or this?
Oh, yeah.
Capacity.
Prices are going to go up. Yeah, of course. But there's only so many places that'll take this.
Mm-hmm.
And the real challenge is going to be that what people have been doing with their sludge. There are municipalities in Rhode Island that have composting facilities where they added their own sludge to it, sold it, and it's been spread all over every farm in Massachusetts. And when we go to zero, it's a thing, right? And now nobody will take it. And what do they do with those facilities? And I mean, this is
Yeah, I mean,
This
we've
is a
actually,
challenge which is really why the federal government's responding the way it does, because there's no way really to absorb this in the economy.
no, you can't, no.
Yeah.
We-
So
We've actually
ubiquitous.
started having conversations internally about, setting up a dewatering operation if we have to. No?
Thank you.
Okay, other questions from the council? Thanks very much, Mr. Gomes.
Great, thanks, Fred. Now be moving on to the fire department. Chief Perry.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, council members. I'm here to present the fire department's budget this year. As you can see by the PowerPoint, we are having a 4.8% budget increase. That is primarily due to staff raise and benefits. We did our best. Obviously, it's a tough budget year for all departments, as you've heard. We did our best to hold many of the different line items flat. The members had received a pretty much standard pay raise. A large increase in health insurance, which is roughly 23.7% increase. Part of that also is we've had a couple of members who went from a single plan to a family plan. We had I believe, 1 or 2 members that became married, had children, so that pretty much doubles the health insurance cost by taking on a family plan. Obviously, retiree healthcare, retirement contributions, they increased. When you look at the overall budget increase, it's all contractual and market-driven costs outside the department's control. We've held the operational costs as tight as we could on the fire department side. Obviously, you see what fuel costs, price of diesels through the roof, and that's all we use for the large fire trucks, and they eat up a lot of diesel. We've been very fortunate with the support of the town manager and the council to replace some of our aging equipment. We just came back from E1 plant where our new engine 2 is going to be delivered hopefully in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So that would be nice to take off the road a 20-year engine full-time and put it in reserve status and have a new fire truck that will drive down the cost of replacing equipment. And as the equipment ages, it's tough to find parts and the costs just double and triple. The staffing levels remain unchanged this year. The last time we've ever had a staffing increase was in 2003. We currently have 36 line firefighters and 4 administration personnel that consist of myself, Deputy Chief Gorman, my administrative assistant, Jen Choquette, and Fire Marshal Michael Carrera. So this year we're requesting a $9.46 million budget. One of the things, speaking to a couple of residents over this past year, got a chance to talk to a couple of residents. A lot of people always ask about hydrant rental. What is a hydrant rental? Why is it $300,000? That is a fee we pay Kent County Water Authority. Mandated that we have to pay this fee. Unfortunately, it's a lot of money. It's over 3% of the fire department's budget, and we have no control over that fee.
All towns have to pay this, correct?
Correct. Some of the challenges that we'll face in the coming years, as we've been lucky to replace some of the equipment, as I spoke to in the Capitol, is the aging fire stations. Station 1, built in 1914. We've had more and more issues with the roof. Unfortunately, during the blizzard, we had multiple leaks. We had to have a roofing company come one time, make several repairs to the roof. Unfortunately, we had some more leaks, so we had to put an insurance claim in to replace some of the damage that was caused inside the station. Our Station 2 is over 50 years old, so we're definitely going to have to address some issues with the infrastructure of the fire stations in the coming years. Another issue is cardiac monitors. As I discussed, they're $57,000 a piece. We need them. We run ALS equipment in town. We need that to man the rescues. So that's something that I applied for a rural EMS grant. Knock on wood, hopefully we get it, to replace the cardiac monitors. AFG just opened up. We're going to be applying for a couple grants this year. We've been very fortunate to receive as many grants as we have. This past year, I was able to, between the grants we received, close out some of the grants. One of them was we just installed a brand new diesel generator at Station 1. We had a generator that was probably about 60 years old inside the building. Now we got a new state-of-the-art generator, which helps run our dispatch center, everything. If we lose power, the day of the blizzard, of course, we lost power. So we literally just got it installed a few days earlier. Worked great, no issues. So we're blessed to have that piece of equipment. We just updated both fire alarm systems in both fire stations. We received the AFG grant for that. So we have all brand new updated smoke detectors, CO detectors in both fire stations. We had replaced all the fire hose, nozzles, and appliances on all of our apparatus. As the town manager stated, with the help of Representatives Justine Caldwell and Evan Shanley, we received a $9,000 legislative grant, which if anybody knows anything about legislative grants, that's up there. Normally you're doing good to get, $1,500, $2,000. So we were very fortunate to get a $9,000 legislative grant. With that, we're going to purchase 9 sets of body armor for all the ride assignments on all of the apparatus. One issue we ran into with our 2 rescues responding to the unfortunate event at Brown University was they could not go into the scene. As the state police wanted our rescues to go in with them into the college, they were unable to because they didn't have that equipment and the training. We are going to change that. So within the next week or so, we will be purchasing that equipment, and the members will all receive training for the rescue task force training. So we will make sure every single member has that specialized training over the next couple of months.
Chief, how many sets of body armor are you purchasing?
9.
So 9. So one shift.
Correct.
I mean, you cover everyone on that shift.
Basically, so if engine 1 has 2 firefighters, there'll be 2 sets on that. Engine 2 have a couple of sets. Same thing on the rescues. So the maximum amount of firefighters we'll have on a shift is 9, and we'll have 9 sets.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about it. I'm more than happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Can we increase our rescue billing?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing. Yes.
So we have increased the rates with Blue Cross.
Yeah.
We have worked with the rescue billing company, and our rates our revenue has gone up. We're roughly around $1 million this year. But with that, we pay a 6% fee. So you also see that in the budget. We've had an increase with that. The more revenue we bring in, more of an expense in the fire department's budget for that. So if we bring $1 million, it's costing us $60,000 for that collection of the rate. One thing we've been working with the town manager and the staff is looking at ways to generate revenue. So we are going to be proposing soon charging fees for motor vehicle accidents. I've reached out to many different departments. There's about half of them that bill for motor vehicle accidents. We have Route 403, Route 4.
So we have a lot of state roads.
95. Sometimes we'll go to a bad accident. If the person's hurt, we transport them to the hospital. If they're not hurt, we could be tied up on scene an hour, 2 hours with all the resources of the town. If nobody goes to hospital, we don't generate any revenue for that. So there are some municipalities, especially with lots of highway access, that bill for that. So we'll be looking at, that will be one of the lines that we're gonna look at, trying to generate revenue.
I am all in on, especially on the state roads, because we are, as the chief mentioned, we're a pass-through town now. We're getting a ton of traffic, and I know a lot of the accidents. I see the calls that both departments go on. It's a lot, and a lot of times it's not local residents that are
charged for that. Would it be the person that caused the accident or any accident?
So it would be the person's insurance. So just like if you're transported to hospital, they'll charge you a Blue Cross, whatever Blue Cross pays. We'll get rescue billing, and that will be it. We don't hard bill any residents.
Okay.
So the same thing goes with if you have Allstate. If you get an accident on Route 4, the billing company would bill your Allstate insurance.
So like if someone got into an accident
and they're at fault
and they're not at fault, you will bill
They
another
wouldn't be charged.
They would not be
The
charged.
person at fault would be charged.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
You can't determine that then. So what happens is you send a bill, well, any expense incurred in an accident where they all lawyer up and they go, I didn't do it. The insurance companies work that out.
So part of what that is there's a process behind it. It's not as easy as it sounds. You have to also submit with that bill. You have to submit a copy of the police report.
So you don't bill until that's
The
generated.
billing company is the one that handles all that process of it.
Okay.
They'll have a copy of the police report with how long we were on scene, what apparatus, what manpower. Just like we had to do for an incident on Main Street that we had all of our apparatus tied up for 8 hours.
Sure.
There was 8 runs that we missed in town, 8 mutual aid rescues came in while the whole fire department was tied up on Main Street.
Mhm.
So if we have a large incident, an MCI incident, a highway accident, we would be able to legally bill accordingly.
Sure. And what you do is do you obtain a copy of their police report, or how does that information get to the insurance, to our billing company?
That is the process that we're gonna have to work through.
Okay.
That's part of the process that you have to have a copy of so we would have the NIFAs, the fire officers report. We have to have that. You have to have the copy of the police report, staple them together, give them the billing company, just like we do now.
Yeah, but it's man hours for you to do it.
What stuff, yes.
Okay.
But it's stuff that the deputy and I could handle.
Chief, do most auto policies cover the cost of the fire department putting foam on the roadway?
It's just like, it's part of it. A lot of people don't realize that. So there's some departments that bill, there's some people that just don't go through it. They don't get enough motor vehicle accidents. Unfortunately, we do in town, between Route 2. A lot of people don't even realize, Route 2 and Division, we have a lot of motor vehicle accidents, up Division, Frenchtown Road. So not mention the highways that we cover. So we do our fair share of accidents.
I have to check my policy, make sure that's covered. Otherwise, they'll bill me, right?
Like I said, we would never hard bill a resident anyway.
I just want to say thank you for your work this weekend at that fire on South County Trail as well. I know that you had mutual aid as well on that. So anyways, but I'm all for more fees, especially to I think we have an increased call amount for both departments. And it's unfair that our residents are paying for some of this. So I would love to charge RIDOT too. I mean, we could figure a way to do that just for letting, for having them respond on our roads.
That'll be part of our revisions for the council to consider for the fee ordinance.
But for suing RIDOT.
Exactly. That's right.
But then we're sending our people out to it's not like.
When we put in Renew's poll.
I will have a place for it.
If you have listed under commodities your diesel cost, diesel fuel, but it doesn't look like it reflects the increase in diesel prices. Is that included in your estimate for the 27 proposed?
So we pretty much kept it in check. So we're looking at what the projected cost is in 2026. And we're obviously hoping that these diesel prices don't stay that way for the next 12 months.
So you feel that your proposed is adequate if, say, they stay the same for the next 12 months, that you would cover it?
So
You
basically,
looked at
based
the
off-
prediction markets and you've concluded that the fuel will drop.
we're looking at 2026 projection, and we're figuring it's a safe number to be at that $55,000.
Because your actual your actual in 25 was 47. Okay.
Chief, is there ever a circumstance where, and the same way, a little oil company on the corner, do you ever, I don't know if your cost is significant enough, can you ever buy a contract for fuel? Where it's a
We get
fixed,
all of our fuel through DPW. They buy in bulk, they get it the cheapest they can. So we fuel up at DPW. We pay the cost that they're able to get.
okay.
So we get a lot lower rate than what you would do at a gas
Right.
station.
Maybe I didn't know this. Andy, do you know? Do they buy futures contracts? Like, how does that work?
We're buying futures. Actually, I don't know how long the contract is.
So we, everybody in the state kind of rides off of the same bid. The state goes out to bid, all the different municipalities. And we estimate the amount of fuel that we use per year. And then they hire a fuel company for the year. So right now it's Peterson Fuel out of Worcester, Mass. And when I order fuel today, they send me the paperwork with the market price and then the markup. So it always fluctuates based on the day that you buy it. So the way that they buy it, they send that fee to me plus a 15-cent markup.
Interesting. Because a lot of times people will buy, like, for your home, like you could buy a fixed price and then the risk is on the company that supplies it at the fixed price and they buy a futures contract.
Yeah, no, they don't do that.
But anyway, it's at the state level. So
Yeah, it's at the state level. Everybody rides the same contract.
okay.
Buy for the whole town. You buy for the school.
Right, so I buy for the whole town. Everybody uses our facility. And then at the end of the month, we bill out to the different departments.
Mike, but I think your point is we could do it. There's nothing prohibiting the town from
Right.
going out to bid and looking at contracting with another source.
Right. So I've seen clients who have a distribution arm. And what they do is they just, go out to solicit, RFPs to people to come in and say, okay, for a 3-year, 1 year, whatever, and they'll give you a fixed cost for the whole contract. It's more expensive the longer it is, right? It's just it's an arbitrage, right? It's just futures contract. And I didn't know if that ever would make any sense. Probably not, given the state's purchasing power, but I just didn't know.
Right, so it's YDOT plus the community and this.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Other questions for the chief? Okay, Chief, I think you're done for tonight. Thank you for your update.
Hey, Chief.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Dr. Swiger, I don't know if you want to pause here, field any questions. I know we still have the superintendent with us this evening. I didn't know if the council wanted
Yes,
to.
well, we have our two guests here who were very brave to come, and I really appreciate you being here, both of you, and for staying through the entire budget presentation. This is an opportunity for the council to hear directly from the superintendent and a member of the school committee if there are any questions that they have.
I mean, I would be interested to hear what the superintendent is facing. I know we heard from him already, but it just, what he anticipates for the next year, how he sees, I've looked at his document, which actually I have to say was fabulous. I really appreciate this, was really clear. Of course, I already broke it, but.
We have the budget. I think it's actually not included. Actually,
So Tom, it was all pretty clear. It was all pretty clear, except my name was spelled wrong.
It is in the packet that the council has, in the full packet. At the end, the last.
We fixed that. Meeting with the
department.
school committee on their budget? Or
Did we have, or?
do we have one?
No, there'll be no further meetings, joint meetings
Okay.
for this budget deliberation, but we do have some representatives here
No,
to
okay.
answer questions.
Yeah, so definitely tried to provide, I gotten some feedback from Andy, heard some things throughout our budget development process. So we did try to provide some more detailed information this year. Hopefully that helped to offset some of the questions, all the other departments that we've heard from. Tonight we are just facing increased costs in several areas, including staffing, overall personnel costs, even though we did reduce 6 positions through our budget deliberation process with the school committee. That is the biggest driver of our overall budget would be salary and benefits, of course. So everything else that we heard on healthcare and everything driving those. And then for us, our other big driver for expenditures was transportation. Did go out to bid this year for a transportation contract, but only received 1 bid, as has been pretty typical, I think, for most school districts over the last few years. So we negotiated as much as we could, but that was our other big driver. So overall, the other thing I would just point out is I know, for any school department looking at a municipal budget, it is the largest portion of that budget. So we are very cognizant of that and appreciate all the support from the taxpayers and the council. When all was said and done, in our deliberations, we tried to do everything possible before adding fund balance in, but we were facing the reality of having to reduce other additional positions that we just felt were going to start to impact some key services for students. So we did add back in $350,000 in fund balance. So with that, we believe we took every step that we could to help mitigate.
I was curious, what do you see for the future? Is there anything, and I apologize, I know I probably did ask this at the joint meeting, but is there something, you were anticipating next year that perhaps is a bigger cost than your fate?
Yeah, I think for us, so two things. So we have 3 main collective bargaining units within the school department. And so they have been, for negotiations, we try to, I think historically the school department started to do 1 of those bargaining units at a time, which does, certainly help with overall budgeting. This year, we're facing, as you may recall, with the teachers union. Initially, it was a 1-year contract that was approved with them. So we went back to the bargaining table as soon as I started as superintendent and tried to negotiate, and we're successful in years 2 and 3. So we're seeing the impact of that second year of the teachers contract in addition to our para educator contract, which was just the one that was on cycle to be done. So I think, I think a little bit unusual for the school department, which is you have the impact of the second year of the teachers were really kind of almost like a first year. So 2 first-year impacts of 2 collective bargaining unit contracts.
I'm curious, do you face the same pressures that I think the other departments were talking about, like the fuel costs as well as the heating, and I don't know, you don't have really air conditioning, but like cooling costs or electricity, the utilities have gone up a lot recently. And those, I guess we're all anticipating that those are going to go higher in the next year as far as everything goes.
Yeah, so that's a good point. And, following some of the other department discussions, the current increases that we're seeing in those areas would not be reflected here, right? Because this budget was developed months ago now for us. So hopefully those costs start to come down, or else, we're going to be faced with some more difficult decisions through next year.
No, I appreciate, I have to say, this budget document was very clear. I really appreciate the work that went into it. And I appreciate the fact that you sat through this all night.
And Jean, thank you to Dr.
Jean as well, who's so patient. I really particularly like the budget to actuals. And that's something that I'm always very concerned about. I see that the estimations this year have been much more spot on as opposed to the way they had been in the past.
We're trying. Hopefully we can continue to improve in that area.
So,
Mr. Donegan.
Yeah, thank you. I thought that this budget was clear and followed a lot of the dialogue that happens at the meeting. So it was very user-friendly from our perspective and very transparent. We could see a lot that all improved really in the presentation, and thank you. I would like to also comment that I really appreciate the work that the school committee and the council has done together collaboratively in two areas that hadn't happened before. One is as they began negotiating with the collective bargaining units, we had the town representatives and the school representatives in working groups that met to try to coordinate immediate needs, anticipate challenges, and even forecast. And that kind of preceded this budget, and I think it shows. And I really appreciate that.
We did as well. Thank you.
And I would also say that we had talked together as both bodies as trying to address what seems to be a relentless reduction in school funding from the state. And there was a bill introduced, and Senator Valverde was one of the sponsors. And so the school committee and the council, and had representatives involved at the committee hearing, which was last Thursday, on redoing significantly the school funding formula. There was a blue ribbon commission created by the General Assembly. Congressman Cicilline in his new role kind of chaired that, but it had input from everyone. And that was being heard. And the kind of impacts that'll significantly benefit the school if that changes, how special needs are funded, transportation, those are two huge things that will help us. And I note that this council adopted a resolution supporting that, and Dr. Schwager sent that along in advance with a cover in advance of that meeting. And from the town council, Councilman Engelhardt and I were up there and we testified. Kevin Wright from the school committee was up and testified. We had sidebars in the hallway, the way these things work at the Senate, that, trying to get that change through. There was a lot of support for it. Andy, I'm sure, is aware of this, but Mayor De Silva, who chairs the League of Cities and Towns, was there, and he gave an endorsement for that change from the league. And when the mayor of Woonsocket was talking about being the most, representing the town that has the greatest poverty rate, and why they support this, and we testified that East Greenwich supports it. When you have East Greenwich and Woonsocket supporting the same funding formula change, you're onto something. And so, right. And so I appreciate just going up there and with, our council with the resolution, and having you folks send up Kevin, who has great legislative experience in our capital, right? He knows his way around all of this. It was a collaborative effort. I think it's going to be successful, and I really appreciate the working together on that. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for those efforts. And I didn't unintentionally glossed over that, but yeah, we did face at the beginning of all this a reduction in state aid of $213,000. So hopefully, we get, when all said and done with the General Assembly, we'll see more positive results, but you just don't know. But then hopefully the changes from the Blue Ribbon Commission moving forward will start to change the bigger picture.
Right. Yeah.
That surplus, they can return some of it.
Well, and you'll see later on in our agenda, you've probably seen that we have a resolution to consider about trying to restore the PAYGO, and that wasn't. And so, I anticipate working together with the school committee and trying to drive that, through to a successful reinstatement of the PAYGO money. So, thank you.
Yes, and it didn't go unnoticed that the reduction this year, the 272?
I think when there's a little bit of a transportation offset, so it landed at 213,362 currently.
Yeah, and that follows on the heel of, I think, an $800,000 reduction last year. So again, I would echo Councilor Donegan's remarks. I'm very grateful that you attended all three of our budget meetings, and I think you hung out for the entire session, so we appreciate that. I also wanted to say I found it very useful for your summary of the school committee meetings. Each time there's a school committee meeting, you've sent around to all the council and I think to the community summaries of the meetings, which have been very helpful. And also special events or special incidents, you've also sent us information to let us know. I was also very impressed on your quick response to the incidents we discussed tonight, the anti-Semitism that we saw in some of our schools. You pulled together that, I think it was called EG Together event, put together all those panels. I think we had 5 panels. We probably had about 30 participating speakers. You did that in short order, and it was, I think, a very nice event to bring our community together. So it was very much appreciated.
Thank you for your participation as well.
Look forward to continue our work together.
Yeah, thank you very much. It meant a lot, I think, to a lot of people, especially that event. And so I commend you for that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Mr. Nada, why don't you tell us what is our status now with our
Yeah, so it's
departmental
really, I
presentations?
guess, a direction that you'd like to move in. So if that was clearly a lot we
Mhm.
went through this evening. So if we're looking to take a pause until the next meeting, we can do that, or we can have a conversation if the council's prepared regarding your perspective on advancing a review of different scenarios. And more presently, this budget is presented to you is at a 6.88% levy increase.
I would make one proposal and see what the council, is the pleasure of the council. We do have an unfinished business item that Mr. Donegan hinted on us putting a resolution together. We also have an executive session tonight as well. So we had talked about using June 1st for a special meeting devoted just to the budget issue where we could basically start with your presentation and then begin our deliberations. If all goes well, it's possible we could close the budget on that night. If not, we have June 8th that we could use. So I see what you think.
Oh, I was just going to say that, you know, how when we gavel a budget and we allocate the mill rates, you know, having a full council do that, I think is advisable.
Absolutely.
I always like, Karen isn't here tonight. I don't know that I want to advance this too far without her input.
Understood.
And so do we know if she will be available on the 1st?
Yes, she had told me that on the 1st and on the 8th, she will be available.
Okay, great.
Yeah, in an ideal situation, selfishly, we'd love to have that conversation on the 1st. If we could close the budget on the 8th, I don't have my full team here on the 1st, but clearly we can get to where we need to get to. But if we can circle back on the 8th to finalize it, that would be helpful.
Right. We may be able to start a little bit earlier. We can caucus the council to see if the 6 p.m.
Yep. Sounds
might
good.
work.
Excellent.
Any other scheduling comments?
I just want to make sure. So we'll do the 1st and the 8th. Is that correct?
That's right. The 8th is a regular meeting.
Okay.
Leo, we scheduled to begin the 8th at 7 o'clock at the present time?
On the 8th?
On the 8th, the regular meeting.
Currently, yes, I don't have anything, kind of holding off on interviews, which
Right.
is the only thing that would push us back an hour, so.
Okay. So maybe we can do the first meeting on the 1st at 6 p.m. and then we'll stay at our 7 p.m. meeting time for the 8th.
He's not.
I mean, I can make it, but it's tough. I get out of court late, but that's fine.
Which day is that?
The 1st.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, I mean, we can make it 6:30, whichever is easier for you.
Yeah, I could be here.
Okay. We'll make it at 6 o'clock on the 1st. So we do have an item of new business, item 9. This is a discussion and consideration with possible action on a resolution requesting the reinstatement of supplemental funding of the Rhode Island PAYGO school construction program for those districts that missed this opportunity due to the lack of available state program resources. I'm sorry, I want to pause for 1 second. Does your team need to remain at this point?
I'm sorry?
Does your team need to remain, your department heads? Would you like them to continue at this point?
Unless they seem very interested in this subject. I don't know, they might want to say. Oh, they're good. You're good.
It's almost like they're captivated by the town manager.
I would leave.
Save yourselves.
All right.
Shut their ankle monitors.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much for participating.
Good night.
I appreciate them staying, though. I do. It's okay that they go.
They,
Oh, no, it's definitely a loyalty pledge situation.
So this is, it's important that the town take every opportunity to support our school building project with assistance from the state whenever possible. And to support this effort, the town council is considering tonight a resolution to restore, to ask the state to restore the PAYGO funds intended to smooth tax impacts on local residents in years where the school building process requires municipalities to front millions of dollars before receiving any reimbursement funds from the state. So the council had asked the manager to begin putting together a resolution to try to accomplish that. And so, Mr. Nod, I'll ask you to talk a little bit about how you've been working on this to provide us with a draft resolution.
Yeah, so since our last meeting, I worked with our finance director, who also communicated with our finance consultants at PFM, Steve Massaroni, to talk about and better understand the difference of having the PAYGO available at the beginning of the project before a debt schedule was established and a construction schedule was established versus consideration of securing PAYGO funding midstream, right? So in doing that, without getting into the technical nature of pros and cons associated with that, I think it really comes down to, and a lot of people don't understand what the PAYGO really was, right? And so it's not new funding, right? It's not added funding. It's funding, reimbursement funding that we would have received anyways as part of the project. So because of the review of our particular project, and I would actually say based on the scope of the work being done in East Greenwich, which most districts, they were building one school, which is a very different timeline and planning process with the grade realignment, with the construction of 2 new elementaries, work at the high school, early childhood development center, a decommissioning of a school. It was a much more robust discussion and impactful on the community, which took much longer. So we ended up, of no one's fault, by being in a group of municipalities that was eligible for the added reimbursement, but at a point in time, the state ran out of funding for the PAYGO, right? So we did not receive an approximate $11 million, give or take. And basically, as Trish provided me, it's 15% of the 35% reimbursement, or basically $11.2 million. So,
Excuse me, Andy, just so it's clear, what you're talking about is we didn't get the advancement of the money. We're getting it. It's just getting it when the reimbursements.
That is correct.
So there'll be tax relief then.
That's
We want it now. Wait, when it was promised, they just ran out of money.
Yeah, that's right. So at the beginning, I guess going back, we would have to extrapolate like a series of recommendations we would have made at the beginning of the project, which might be different than what we make today, right? So at the beginning of the project, you take the money, and then that can have an influence based on the timeline of the project as the processing of payments on the project, when that sequencing would occur, how you align that from year to year, when interest payments come due, which ultimately has an impact on tax impact, right? So we would have probably strategized very differently at the beginning of the project with our consultants to lay that out in a way that would have done the best we could at the time to minimize significant tax impact. There's going to be some, but we might have had other strategies at the time. So because we're doing this midstream, we've missed the opportunity. Let's say we get the funding. We get support from the state. They reimburse those communities. They make the PAYGO funding available to us midstream. We fortunately haven't issued the second tranche yet. Right. So the way Trish has that aligned, and we're still tracking it closely based on the timeline of the project and when payments will be due, that if that second tranche is not issued until 27, January, February, if we can get there based on the speed of which the project is occurring, you wouldn't incur that interest until 28, after July 28, which is how it's laid out today, right? So The question that we have is, if we secure the 11 million, how long does that allow us to delay the issuance of the next tranche of debt?
Mhm.
And based on that timing, is that going to have any impact at all, lessening of the tax impact that we have now? So that's a question that we have. So that being said, that kind of sets the table as to what the PAYGO is. Clearly there's no downside to receiving the PAYGO. The question is, how much of an upside is there? And so we put together, with support of council members and others, we think a fairly well put together resolution for our legislators to support this discussion and this narrative at the State House to see if, in fact, some of the surplus that the state has received, and we understand that, that funding is earmarked for a lot of things. So this is going to be one topic of conversation, but clearly worth an effort to try to pursue that. So we have drafted a resolution for council consideration to be able to empower our representative and other legislators to move this forward in a more formal way to the State House to see if it can gain any traction here at the 11th hour of the session. So, and
I'd like to point out that we discussed this last year as well. We discussed this in the March 10th meeting last year. I pulled up the minutes from that. And we had also, and I think that there's a misunderstanding. People had been questioning, the tax, the bond repayment that had been mentioned all the way back in 2023 before the vote even was taken. We'd mentioned it again in 2024 when we did the budget. We mentioned it again in 2025. So these, this debt that goes to the $150 million bond is something that this council has discussed. The school committee has also discussed over the period of time. The administration has discussed, and the PAYGO money, which is just, now we're just advancing the same money that we would get at the back end. And I'm not really, I think this is an excellent opportunity to try to get it back from the state when they have this surplus, and it would certainly help. But these costs are not unexpected costs. And I think it's important that everybody knows that.
And I think as you read the resolution, we tried to capture that, right? We tried to capture what it was. It was an incentive. That was an incentive to our community, like everybody else, to get involved and to be able to manage the significant cost for a small town like East Greenwich to be able to take on such a major investment.
Yeah.
So we, in a number of the whereas, we tried to capture those nuances the best we could.
And I think that, so look, we got, what is it, 85 million from the state?
What's that?
It's 85 million? Mark?
65 from the town, 85 from the state.
Okay. So $85 million from the state. This is a go project without PAYGO, with PAYGO, whatever. It's a significant investment in our town with great incentives and monies we would never get if we didn't do it in this window. And so it's a once in, I've been working on Conservation Commission, Planning Board, and Council for, I don't know, the better part of 2 decades. And we've never seen an opportunity like this. And that's why all the communities who can are doing it. And we followed, like you said, Andy, because we were doing 5 schools in grade realignment, when the school committee did the needs assessment, a lot of our residents had a lot to say about it. And there was a lot of considerations made educationally. It wasn't just improving a building, it's how you deliver educational services. And all of that took time because it was a robust engagement with our community and with the professionals. And, that resulted in, and when the stage 2 was delivered, it was delivered on time. It was delivered just like the state said to do it. And the incentives that were given financially were, you're going to get the reimbursement, you're going to get the bonuses. We took full advantage of those because by calling them all one project, you get the newer and fewer discount, even on, or reimbursement, even on things that aren't new. And so energy efficiency, all of those things, it just means you don't get the reimbursement till the last brick is done on the last project. Much easier if you're doing one building. We were doing much more. We were taking full advantage of this. And we engaged, came up with a plan that is workable and delivers the educational services in the way the school committee wants. And we delivered it to the state on time, just like we were required to do. And their commitment was, you'll get these reimbursements if you follow our incentives, and we'll give you the pay-go. And then for some of those municipalities who met the deadline, the General Assembly just didn't plan well and didn't have enough for everybody to get the pay-go, and we're one of them. And so it doesn't, I agree that all of this was discussed, many times at public meetings, and it's now time to pay for this, the new school buildings that our community is going to enjoy and will drive our property values again. It's just that it makes sense to ask the General Assembly, with this surplus that's been advertised, to reinstate, to fill the hole in the pay-go that they missed the first time. And we have spoken to both of our representatives who are willing to carry this resolution with what I hope will be a cover letter from maybe our council president, town manager, and the superintendent collectively laying out impacts, whatever detail you guys decide you want to do. And that letter with the resolution will be hand carried around the General Assembly, delivered to committee, and we'll collectively support that with the school committee and the town council to try to get that reinstated. So that's how I see that.
Other comments? Yeah, I would just second Mr. Donegan's discussion. I think that this project really was double or even triple vetted. We had the school building committee who started this project rolling, and they did the design and educational needs, educational assessment of the district, did an extremely thorough job of a needs assessment for our community. Then the project went to the town council, and we looked at the financial component of it. How could we get the biggest bang for our buck? How could we impact the entire district for reasonable funding? And once we had come up with the needs and what we thought was the best funding, then we took it for a third round to present to the community. So we had public hearings, public meetings, events to educate the public. And then finally we had the vote. We got very strong support from the town to proceed with the project. And I think our due diligence has really been very impactful on the success of the project. If you look at other communities who have run into trouble with their projects, Warwick, North Kingstown, South Kingstown, Johnston, Newport, we avoided all of those problems. This project has been very smooth, on time, on budget. We have a great team with our project manager, with our construction manager. So as Mr. Donegan said, we planned for this. We did the project right in the planning stages, and now the implementation stages are going very smoothly. It is expensive, and it is going to be very necessary and very impactful for generations to come for our education in East Greenwich. So at this point, I think you circulated, Mr. Nada, the resolution. If counselors have looked through this resolution, I want to see if they have any questions for Mr. Nada. It is fairly lengthy. I'm not sure that I need to read it. We can post the resolution on our website for people and for the public.
Just finished earlier today, so it didn't get a chance to post it yet. But
from my point of view, I think it hits all of the notes that we wanted to bring to the attention of the General Assembly. And as Mr. Donegan said, we will compose a cover letter, bring this to our legislators, and they will take it directly to committee chairs and other people in positions to take action on this request.
Are we voting on this today?
We'd like to vote on it tonight, yeah.
So, the last page has Karen's name on it. So you have to take that off.
yeah, it's a draft, so we can modify.
Sure.
We can modify that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mike, what the thinking behind that is sometimes we'll have resolutions that just authorize the president to sign or the manager or whatever. And what we've done in the past, our solicitor came back and said, when we've done others of high priority, putting all the counselors down who voted
Well, I think that's good.
is helpful because we all have different relationships up there and it's helpful.
No, and I think
Good
Karen,
catch, though.
I think if Karen was here, she would vote for it.
Oh, that's enough. Oh, I'm sorry, no.
I have a quick question on should the attest part be me as the clerk? Or right now it says Mark Schwager. I don't know if, because the whole council is listed, if
I'm sorry, where you,
Very last
the
page.
third page.
yes, the third page, what area are you questioning?
Oh, it says attest and it says Mark Schwager as council president. Usually it's the clerk. So I'm not sure if the solicitor has any opinion on that or if that's normal.
Well, are you all gonna sign it or are you just gonna list the? All
I
four?
think
gonna
we can
sign
use
it?
the electronic signature.
Yeah, we have
for that.
stamps and stuff.
Okay, but all four are gonna sign it?
No, it's gonna, the way it reads
You
is,
know how it reads?
Oh, okay.
But I understand Lee's question.
oh, no.
If you're all four gonna sign it electronically, then I would say, have her sign it as the clerk, attesting to as the clerk, and then you'll have your four signatures
okay.
under it.
That probably is even a stronger endorsement,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Everybody's
fine.
signature next to, yeah.
I don't see,
Thank you, Lee.
where would your name go, Lee? I'm not,
Your name is now currently.
Top of page 3.
yes, attest.
Yeah, it says you right there. So it's say me as the clerk.
Okay. And then we just have our four names on the bottom with signatures. Okay.
Still be unanimous even though it's not.
Yes, it would be.
Okay, further discussion or questions?
After, I don't know when we want to discuss this, Mark, but after we vote on this, assuming we vote to approve, what is necessary to authorize you and or Andy to put together a cover letter to accompany it, which doesn't have to come back to us and hopefully includes reaching out to the superintendent and seeing if we can get a coordinated effort? Is that, Andy, does that require any vote? Or is that just something, Andy Tights? So if they're going to put a cover letter on it and work with the superintendent and come up with one or not, a letter that accompanies this when it's transmitted, does that need any action by the council?
How about just a motion to authorize the council president
Okay, after we vote on that?
on the resolution?
Okay, I'll make.
Okay. Yeah, I did speak to the school committee chair earlier today, and she's certainly interested in being a part of this, the request and the resolution. So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution requesting restoration of school construction pay-go funding for the town of East Greenwich with the modifications that Councilor Cornthal's name will be taken off. The attestation will be to the town clerk instead of to town council president.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 4-0. I'd ask for a second motion to authorize the town council president to work with town manager, superintendent, and school committee chair to compose a cover letter for our resolution to submit to our legislators.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. And Mr. Nada, thank you to you and your staff for putting this together very quickly. Mr. Donegan, thank you for your efforts in this area as well. This brings us back to public comment. If there are any people online who would like to make a comment on items not on the agenda tonight.
There's no one with their hand raised online.
Okay.
Oh, we have someone in-house.
Okay. Mr. Quinn, why don't you come up and then we'll take the online comments next. Good evening, sir.
I just wanted to clarify what happened with the state aid over the last 2 years. The formula called for a $1.7, $1.8 million cut last year. This thing called the Poverty Loss Stabilization Fund was triggered, and that we got an extra $1 million last year. They took it back this year, right? So we lost $1.7, $1.8 million. And that is the equivalent of a 4% increase in the local appropriation for a full year. So we got clobbered, right? This year, the formula called for a $680,000 increase, right? So when you net out reclaiming the million and then the 688,000, that's how we ended up with a 200 and change reduction this year, when we should have, I mean, we would have had a $600,000+ increase. So basically all that Poverty Loss Stabilization Fund did was it spread the loss over 2 years. The net was exactly the same. We didn't get any extra money, unfortunately.
So it's just a leveling tool.
It was just a leveling, yeah, which I couldn't believe it when I saw that, because it was like,
Gene, the poverty loss stabilization it's just a one-time payment. I mean, can you qualify it for subsequent years if your cut is large enough?
if your state share drops by an amount, I think it was 2%,
Then
that
you can-
triggers it.
Be again.
Right.
Yeah.
Second time. Yeah.
So ours dropped like 12%,
That first year when they cut us
but then it went up this year, right? So we didn't.
our state share. Okay.
Well, see, the thing is, once they give you that extra $1 million, you're no longer in line with the formula. So when they calculate the amount that you got does not comply with the formula. So what they just went back to what we would have gotten without the $1 million when they calculated this year's. So they took it back. I mean, I'm glad they spread it out, but it sounds like we got an extra $1 million. We didn't, you know. So, but again, the new formula has some improvements, and again, we're moving towards something better, I think. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for attending tonight. Do we have a question from the audience on Zoom?
No, sir.
No hands. Okay, then I will close public comment and move on to council announcements and comments.
I was going to say, first of all, I would like to thank Lee and Elaine for the Memorial Day event. It was beautiful. I'd also like to say congratulations to Lila Zarella, who will be graduating from Harvard Law this week. So a big congratulations there. Anyways.
Product of the East Grand school system.
Product of the East Grand.
I'd also like to thank Elaine and Lee for a great event, and truly, it's always one of the more meaningful things we do in town on that day. And Lee runs that and gets everybody to show up, and the people she selects are they're great. I mean, it's all heartfelt and compelling, and they take us to the place where we should remember, and it's really meaningful, and I appreciate it. And I just want to say that if Lila Zarella begins working at the law offices of Mike Zarella,
Not happen.
I'm gonna have to do something about that.
Can't afford her.
Lee, I have to just add on to all the compliments and comments that you've had. I would say that after the event finished up, I walked over to Greg King, his son, and he had tears in his eyes. And he said to me, this is really special. And he also said, you folks have a really special town. You don't see this. He said, speaking of himself, I don't see this where I live, and I haven't seen it in other towns. So it really was heartfelt by him and his family. And I think we need to appreciate what we really have in our town here. So thank you for your efforts. It's great. Captain Carl would have been very, very happy.
If I could just say, I wanted to make it, very special for Mr. King because they were traveling from so far away.
Mhm.
So I had intentions of greeting them at the airport.
Mhm.
I had reached out to Troop 2 to see if they could, we could get a group together and have signs and everything. But they were arriving at like noon. So the kids were in school. So I said, well, are any of the leaders available? And we didn't really reconnect after I asked that. At about 12:15 last Friday, I got a call from Jack Romano.
Mhm.
He was at the airport.
Oh, wow.
And he said, there's nobody here. I can't really, and I said, well, I didn't really dig into the airline. I said, I just kind of know the time. He hung out for a little bit. He ended up greeting them. They came about 15, 20 minutes later, and he was there for them. And I just want to say to him, thank you. That was very special. And, he didn't have to do that, but that's the little things that we do here in East Greenwich that make a big difference. So
I want to say also, Mr. King was able to visit Barbara LaPlume, who was also in his class, and she was overjoyed because it was somebody she went to high school with at Eldridge, and I know she said it was a big thing for her.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Okay, well, we do have an executive session tonight. So, yes.
Actually not. We
Not.
wanted it there in case there was any developments that needed action, but there isn't anything at the moment.
We really would like an executive session.
Pardon me?
Nothing. I was
You
gonna say.
want it anyway? That's fine.
In the event that we do not need the executive session, no, we don't have to seal any minutes, and I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.